Okay, hey, guess who turned 200? Well, it's not me, but anyway, for all of you who are signed in early, this is going to be a blast. If we stop laughing at some point, I don't know. I was going to say somebody got shot, but we'll probably laugh at that too. So anyway, in a minute, I'm going to introduce everybody. We'll get started. So hopefully you guys have as fun of a ride as we're going to have. We had a meeting before this, and yeah, I had to make everybody stop talking so that we could get started. So anyway, let me run through the intro and see you in a minute. The big question is this: how are self-defense and success-minded people like us, concerned citizens worried about protecting ourselves, our loved ones, and the things we care about from the monsters we know exist in the world? How do we train in a way that gives us the skills, knowledge, and understanding we need without becoming paranoid fighters or killers ourselves, and yet still allows us to be the hero protector the world needs us to be? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Jeffrey Miller, and welcome to KUDEN Radio, real training for real people in a real world. And still, that's my story. Anyway, all right, welcome. All right, so we've got a blast ready for you tonight. So people have been guessing, like, because I said I had, guest instructor or guest host, and then I had a surprise one that I didn't even tell my guest hosts who was on. So I've had people trying to guess who and what and whatnot. And so this is either going to be fun for you or it's going to be a huge disappointment because I don't have Stephen Hayes or Bud Malmstrom or Soke or whatever, although we're going to talk about them a lot and we'll probably laugh at everybody else too, including ourselves, because that's just the way we roll. Anyway, right, so I've got James on, I've got a bunch of other folks, so I'm going to introduce instructors as we go, and hopefully everything's going to work. The technology is going to work for us, and this is going to be great. So anyway, let's go ahead and do that. Let me just make sure that everybody's in the background where they're supposed to be. Fantastic, right? So the guy that I'm going to make run the joke session, or at least lead it off, I get to laugh at him first because he's freaking late. So anyway, all right, but whatever, right? So anyway, I'm going to introduce the folks that I lined up for this. So here's the way I did this, okay? I know I could have had, top names in the Ninjutsu world and all that kind of stuff, but I really wanted some folks to help me kind of celebrate this, who were connected to me and have either helped me get where I am or are significant parts of what I do, right, and how things are going. Okay, so you guys know James, right? So he needs no introduction, but James is a Nidon. He's he basically runs the online training program. So if you're in any of our training programs, and you've got problems with things, or you need access or whatever, that's a James thing, right? James is on top of all that stuff. He makes sure that as we're running live programs and they're going and whatnot. So he's the guy that is in the background making sure all that stuff happens. So I don't know if anybody can see as I'm popping up faces on here, but you guys know James, right? And you'll be seeing him as we go along, right? My very first student in the States, right? And he can tell you that story, but anyway, some people are gluttons for punishment and some get started, I don't know. Anyway, so I've got Shidoshi John Golem. He just got his fifth on from me not too long ago. And so, yeah, so he's on. John, say hi.
Hello.
All right. Let's see. So you guys know all them. My latecomer, well, his video is not on, so I'm not going to show him for the moment. So this next guy is actually tied to me indirectly, originally, right, through Shidoshi Malmstrom, right? So, and he, while he teaches Taijutsu himself, he actually is more specialized. I think I could be wrong about all this stuff, but more specialized in the bushcraft and wilderness survival stuff, which I teach as well. But he does that. So we've got Sensei Lee Davis. Say hi, Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Anyway, fantastic. All right. So is Victor on? All right. So my New York to Florida transplant, who gets around to way more seminars than I do, is I'm gonna hit this and see what happens. There you go. Right. So there's a name, and that's all you get. Right. So Victor can introduce himself here in just a minute. We're gonna go back around and do intros where they can have kind of an intro message and whatnot. But there was somebody that like I couldn't do this and go this far without bringing him back in. Personal student and also a race car driver. You guys have heard me refer to him on a regular basis. If you are a regular and been around for a while, he has always been known by me and will always be Radio God. So we'll talk about these things. But he was basically the impetus in getting this thing started many, many moons ago. So again, this is either going to be a huge yay for everybody or a huge disappointment. But we talked about this already, right? So my original co-host in KUDEN, right, is Eric White. Radio.
Okay, you can see me now, right?
Yeah. So
I was hidden. I was hidden for a second.
Right, you were for the longest time. You were only ever a voice on the radio because KUDEN started off being just audio only. Right. We recorded it. As a matter of fact, he worked for the radio station, and it may not be true because he had a significant position while he was there. But I always like to say that we snuck into the station on Sundays when everybody else was there to record these
pirate.
things.
Yeah, it was pirate radio for sure.
It was pirate radio. we used a professional radio station
to
record this stuff and get it in the can.
And that was sort of the idea too, this was early in the podcast kind of days. Now it's like, if you have a phone, you're a podcaster, and everybody thinks they're a podcaster. But when we started it, I just had this thought of like, we had so many great conversations at the school, or we trained, we'd go to lunch after, and we'd have all these great discussions where so much teaching was shared that, I thought, if we're going to do this thing and my experience in radio, it's like, let's make this more like a production with a show with like little intro and commercials. And I just kind of brought
my
that
thought was
part
to
of
have
it
it like my thought was to have it like a morning drive time kind of thing where we're just yucking it up and we're talking about news in the yard. And stuff like
that's
that.
right. I remember looking up, trying to dig as much as I could, because even the early days of Facebook, we weren't getting much out of Japan, so to speak, but trying to troll what things I could on the internet to find out, well, what was going on at Homebrew and how could I write a little news clip about studying.
Well, the hard part too was getting the stuff recorded and getting it out in a timely manner, because everything that we were doing was manual, right? I mean, you were literally uploading that stuff to individual podcast directories, right? Manually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we would get it released, and I've got all that stuff burned on like CDs, those original ones, and now we have them up on our Amazon S3 server service for posterity's sake. But just cool stuff. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. But I think your original impetus too was discussing this idea of this KUDEN, teacher to student passing things on, because in those early days, what Eric would do during the week was he would come up with the topics, right? I think we had like 3 topic segments, historical stuff, crime in the news or whatever. And like, I would get that by email or the day of. He'd go, here's what we're going to talk about. Right. And so he would be more like the interviewer and you get my take on the things, right? And that's pretty much how it worked. I mean, we didn't script that stuff. It was, and I still don't, right?
Well,
I
and very much, Ninja Mind, sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. Truthfully, it was also my way at the time where I was, because of life, not being able to get to the dojo as much. It's like, well, here's a great idea to get my teacher to come to me, and I can ask him a bunch of questions, and then I can listen to it over and over again. So yeah, it was
good
I did things
tactic.
early on in the day too.
It was somewhat selfish.
Yeah, well, I did the same thing early on where I hosted seminars wherever I was because I was in the military or whatever, and this is going to make us all sound old. And I don't give a shit, right? I mean, no one has an excuse these days. Zero, right? Because we didn't have the internet. I mean, the internet was around, but it was strictly a college thing, right? There was a repository in one place, and everybody started dipping into servers and whatever. I mean, in the early days, if you did search for information, your return on information were college papers or research that people did or whatever. There were no ads. There were, nothing like that, right? So,
and the video took forever to download.
And the video, oh man. So, yeah. So, we, again, all this stuff was manual, right? And then Eric, life takes a turn as it usually does, right? And so, when Eric took a different job and moved across the country, and there was no radio station to do anything in. And in all honesty, we had no idea how, based on scheduling and all that kind of stuff, 3-hour time difference, all that, yeah. How are we even going to make this work, even if we were going to record it? Because as John mentioned, not only was video slow, but audio, right? There was lag time, there was all kinds of stuff, even recording it to get it back up, right? So I took a 1.5 years off to try to figure out how I was going to make this happen. And what really happened was
somebody has feedback.
Have now joined us. So what the hell? All right. Like I said, it'll be an interesting episode. So
I didn't schedule a ninja or an alien abduction for just right now. So
we used to blame those damn Koga ninja. Anyway, so luckily technology caught up. And, I had not realized that you and I did 67 damn episodes. 67, man, because this reboot started at 68. And okay. I started that with kind of an origin story to how I got into martial arts, into this art, background, family, law enforcement, that whole kind of thing. And then there were a bunch of episodes. There were probably, I don't know, maybe 10, maybe a dozen, something like that. I can't remember the exact one where I brought James in as my producer to run stuff in the background and help keep things moving. And I decided I did it as a live broadcast, but for anybody that remembers episodes 68 through probably 80, 90, whatever, I was on a DSL connection. So we would have weird, little glitches that happened with video or audio or whatever. And that just got worse and worse. And then, I started doing things here from my home office because we had high-speed internet here instead of doing it from the dojo. That morphed into Whiteboard Wednesday, where that's more of a technical, strategic or tactical, strategic kind of thing, more for the tight end side of things, more for the physical skills. KUDEN, and this was an Eric thing too. KUDEN was really about the knowledge, and in all honesty, it's more of a KUDEN Shinden kind of idea because there's, we talk about personal development, we talk about, connection, life, those kind of things. But kind of morphed, right, with the things of the dojo, that became a Whiteboard Wednesday kind of thing to help people with their physical skills, strategy, tactics, that tiger side of training, right? And then, we've got this kind of thing here. So anyway, I thought it'd be fun to share kind of what Eric helped me start building, right? and I shared these statistics with everybody at the beginning, right? There are like 2 million podcasts available.
Wow.
Okay. Now, before you get all freaked about these things, why don't I know about 2 million, right? There only seems like there's a reason for that. Okay. There's 500,000 new podcasts started every year. Well, why aren't there more than 2 million? Because that's only 4 years worth, right? Well, apparently, according to the statistics, 90% of podcasts don't get past 3 episodes. Okay. Only, what do I have here? Only 20% have 10. Like if I think it's like 26%, right? Hit like 11. Okay. Which means that if I have 11 episodes or 12 episodes, I'm in the 74%. Anyway, whatever, right? But so only 90% barely hit 3, and 90% of those who make it past 3, right? So 20% get to 20% of that group, right? But over the long term, 90% quit sometime around the 20 episode mark.
Yeah, but as I said earlier, you've got to imagine that there's somebody living in a basement somewhere who only has his mother and some guy sending him tokens to, massage his feet in front of the camera. So.
My filter's only a little bit better than John's. Anyway.
I'm not surprised that this has been successful, because this really seems to echo a lot of what you would often say about statistics of students who become black belts and beyond. It's eerily similar to those numbers in a way.
One of my guys, now he lives in another different part of the world and whatnot. He's a Air Force vet and whatnot. John Price, most of you guys know him. He sent me a congratulations message and said that this was a huge testament to living NIN, right? Endurance, perseverance, and whatnot, because this is not always easy. And with the rare glitch, we've had technology glitches and couldn't do an episode, or had one. We had one where there was an entire freaking blackout or brownout or whatever. And so, and actually it wasn't in our area. It was where this service pipes out of. And so we had to literally like redo a topic the next week, because my schedule is so full that this is what I have. If we have a failure on a Monday, I can't redo one. And I like that consistency of having, right, this thing is out. Everybody knows Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're doing KUDEN. Right. And so that, or a vacation where I'm out on a cruise ship and I have no internet or whatever. Right. Right. So like I said, Eric got me to 67. I did a handful past that, brought James on. So James has been with me for well over 100 episodes. Right. 110, give or take. Right. And that's every week. And he's the one responsible for setting up the service we have in the background, the stuff on the website where things get posted afterwards. And then we've got this service that scrubs everything and gets it out to, like, we're literally on hundreds and hundreds of podcast directories, and only because we don't have to do it manually. Right. But we've been picked up by, some of the hard benchmarks was getting on Apple Podcast or Apple, was it iTunes before that, but Apple Podcast, that was difficult. Spotify was a struggle. We were on one called Stitcher Radio, and then Pandora bought it out and kept us. So we're on Pandora, and Pandora is owned by Sirius Radio. So here later in the year, we have a really good shot at getting on Sirius Radio, which is going to be fucking fantabulous.
Back to radio. It's a full circle.
So anyway, so the point, circle back to radio, right? So the point of all these statistics is that we have literally lasted, at this point with this episode, 10 times longer than 90% of the longest running podcasts, and longest is 20. And I can't fathom that, because it's not in my personality to start something with a plan of, well, we'll see what happens. Because when I jump into things, I'm just somebody who commits. So there has to be a major, major, major life challenge for that to change. And this is not a bell ringing thing, because with us right now, we have, all my guest hosts, right, have been in this training. I mean, John, you started when?
Oh boy. I was asked this before. It's 87 or 88.
Yeah, it has to be 88 because I got out of the military in 88. So
88.
After I got out and started the training group in this area. First demo, as a matter of fact, I think it was the first demo I did in this area where I was invited to come and do it. And we got the dates mixed up, and I showed up and it was the wrong day. But there's John telling me it was the wrong day. And I said, you know what? Screw it. We were in a mall. I asked the management, and they said, yeah, you can still do one. So we just winged it, right? But I had my then fiance, who became a wife for a while. Anyway, and
part of the collective.
That's all we had. Fuck you. Anyway, that's all we had. But anyway, John was there, and he goes, "I'll do it." Right? And you're not gonna sue me because I didn't have any liability waivers with me, nothing like that. And we had no mats, and so some of us are just too damn stupid to quit.
Hard carpet over tile.
Yeah, and there were tile steps and whatnot that you met, and so anyway, so John's been with me, long term. Other ones have, just like there was a point in my military career where a year and a half I was out of pocket because of operations and things like that, and I don't mean like surgical operations, I mean tactical operations, where I couldn't get anywhere, and but that didn't stop me from training in some way every day or multiple times a week or whatever. I'm sure Eric's the same way. I mean, I haven't seen Eric in quite a while, but Eric went back to Japan. Well, Eric went to Japan with me in 2004. And there's another testament to our GOMA and a bunch of the stuff that we do that's a part of the old school training, that Ninjutsu training, that, again, 90% or better, these guys know, the ones who've been to Japan with me, they know, right? It's not being done by people. But it fucking, no, never mind. I've already dropped the F-bomb once. It works, right? I mean, Eric told me on Togakushi Mountain that the goal that he had set during the previous year's GOMA, having no freaking idea how he's going to make it work, right? That's when he told me that was what he put on the board, that running through the process. Yeah. So anyway, so John, my first student, right? Like I said, Lee was on and off different things. I had no idea that he was like binge watching things and following whatever stuff I was putting out. I just knew that every time I did a free webinar or some kind of, I would open up like our Inner Circle weekly coaching call. Every once in a while, I open it up and just let people kind of jump in. They can ask questions, whatever. I've learned to filter out the ones like, can Ninja really jump up 3 stories without like a trampoline onto a building? And yes. No. What the hell? No. Anyway, so, and then at some point he reached out and jumped into things. So, so I kind of told John's story. We'll get back around to John here in a minute, but Lee, why don't you share a little bit about your background and why the hell you are here? Well, you're here because I asked and you said yes, but anyway, so Lee's a Navy vet. So that was life pulls us away from things, right? Yeah. So anyway, Lee, take it away for a minute or two.
Well, oh gosh, let's see. I'm down here in Georgia, so really hot summers, but we trained anyway. Let's see. My initial lineage started with Chris Weekly, who was a student of Bud's, and that fell out. I went in the Navy, did a lot of things down there in Mayport, Florida, went to the Caribbean quite a few times. Did my best to keep training. Times, knowing that this is one of those rare things, this ninjutsu is one of those rare things that gives you that gives you stuff that isn't just physical, that lets you work on that while you're doing in other ways, so that you're not. So if you can't do specifically go hi-ya or whatever, you can still work on some other things. And so that's what I did for a lot of my time. Is when I couldn't do that, I was in the Navy, and I don't know if anyone there knows what non-skid is. In the Navy, it's goes up about an eighth to a quarter inch. The spikes that help you stay, keep you from sliding, and you're not rolling on that without getting acupuncture. But
it's like rolling on Velcro.
It's right. It's not. I did because one kid challenged me, and it was my last day, so I was like, hey, why not? But so I didn't worry about the torn shirt.
Sure.
That I ended up having.
God, just line up a dozen cheese graters.
Perfect. There you go. Well, I mean, acupuncture. It might have worked. I don't know. It might have made me work. But
oh, and by the way, anybody playing the Ninja drinking game, he already hit one of the words. So
nobody's playing a Ninja drinking game. Shut up.
We are. You aren't.
We're part of no.
You mean Bud? Was it Bud?
Damn it! Bud? I got to drink again.
Was it Bud? Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure it was Bud.
God, that's 4. I'm going to empty the bottle.
For those of you who missed the email or the multiple emails that I sent out, we're doing a toast, and that was my plan to start things. So what I have is a unopened bottle of sake that I have sitting here, and I have a Sapporo. So if anybody knows what that is, I used to call these the cannon cocker cans because my first couple of trips to Japan, they had these things in vending machines. Remember that, Eric? Your first trip, right?
Oh yeah.
Took you guys over. My ex-wife Jen was taking pictures of these things, and the Japanese are going by looking at her like freaking tourist. But these things had, and this is small. Yeah. Yes, Eric. This is what is this thing?
They come bigger than that.
22 ounces, right? This is one of the smallest cans that were in the freaking vending machine. They had shit that literally looked like a howitzer shell that you could drop money in and tonk and then drink on your way home.
Wow.
Yeah, well, they've since gotten rid of a lot of that stuff. Now they're filled with energy drinks. So, you go from screwing up your mind to screwing up your heart. So anyway, so sorry, Lee, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but we're going to do this thing. So if you have a cup or what, I don't care if you have green tea, I don't care if you have water. I'm sipping at Diet Pepsi until I get that far, but that's going to be near the end. We're gonna toast this thing. So and not get toasted, John. So anyway,
so I'm on my way. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I started without you.
Lee, whatever you need to. So when did you were in the Navy for how long?
3 years.
And you were when you first started training, you were how old?
I actually, when I did the math, you sent out the email, and I actually did the math. It blew my mind because it was in '88. I was 12 years old.
Holy shit! I was not.
Right.
I just turned 61 this past January, so I was not. Anyway, yeah. So you were 12, and then you trained until you were how old before you went in the Navy?
I was not. It was 96. I went in the Navy, so like almost 8 years.
Yeah. And then you were gone for a while, so you followed things along, and then Lee's now in my inner circle program, going through things, and I don't know. I put out a few lessons every once in a while, right, Lee?
I don't understand how you can do it.
It's just what I do. So my wife knows that I do this on Mondays. She knows that I do Whiteboard Wednesday. I don't think she knew how big this was. I closed out what I do yesterday. I was working all day long, getting all this stuff, all the promotional stuff out, and letting everybody know that things were going on. I was approving the T-shirts. If you've missed those emails, we'll be pointing that stuff out. One of my guys, Eric Tilton, designed a commemorative T-shirt that's only going to be up this week because this week is the 200th episode. After that, it'll be 201. So if you don't get it this week, then, well, I don't know what to tell you. You have to wait until it shows up in a thrift shop. So, but anyway, she works hard herself. She's a university professor. She manages a huge project for a huge project for a major medical center. At another major medical center, she runs a patient side project. She also teaches at a community college, so we had to schedule time for each anyway. So went up, I closed everything out, went to bed last night, and she was like, "Oh my God, I have no idea, 200 episodes. Huge congratulations," that kind of thing. So my wife is probably my biggest supporter. I believe that woman would take a bullet for me. Not that she would want to, but it's anyway. So yeah, cool. I should probably take a little break here just to run down a quick agenda to let everybody know how things are working, set some rules for something that we're going to be doing, and then I'll jump back in with some other folks that I have on and why. I don't know. One of them was late, so I don't know why the hell I asked him to be on. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So anyway, all right. So with the agenda and stuff, again, it's going to be very, very loose, but we're going to I've got a couple of key questions for these guys as we go along. We'll have some open discussion. We do have 2 open Q&A sessions, so we only had the ability to take maybe 2 or 3 people because of the time constraints that we have for this. I mean, we already run like 1:45 to 2 hours every friggin' KUDEN, so we'll see what happens. So you guys can pop some questions out. James in the background, he'll be able to take some of those things. And I want James to pipe up this time as well, because I'm just joking with some students earlier that to get James to laugh, generally somebody has to get hurt, because he's just that stone-faced, stoic kind of guy. But anyway, go ahead, James.
No stupid questions, because there's stupid questions. We don't want stupid questions.
We do not see, and that was something that I think I mentioned that earlier. And if I didn't, I'm sorry. This is not just because it was recorded before. Eric and I and the guys that are on here, right? One, they're here because of the sense of humor. It's all the same. 2, we don't tolerate stupid very well. Okay. And so just so you know, in those early episodes, when I said that Eric and I, there was no shortage of laughter or making fun of people who had stupid ideas and stuff like that. We do that in person. I just be very, very clear. I won't speak for anybody else that's on here. However, just know when it comes to authenticity, I will never say anything behind your back that I would not say directly to you.
Well, I was going to tell Eric, that there really are no stupid questions, just stupid people.
Yeah, and they ask stupid questions.
And they ask stupid. Right. But don't filter your questions. Just right. I mean, and this is what I learned this in the military. I learned it being a part of Bud Malmstrom's school. I learned it being around Jack Hoban, being around Nagato Sensei, right? For Japanese filtering themselves, there are certain key instructors that I train with that will look at you and tell you that was stupid. Okay. They will also tell you that every time you come to class, you risk dying. So if you have sensitivities, not sensibilities, sensitivities, that's why a lot of people gravitate. They don't just gravitate toward occupations and vocations that match their personality type. This is how they choose teachers. This is how they choose their social groups, that kind of thing, right? And Shoshi Malmstrom said something a long time ago, and this is not an answer to one of the questions that are on here. It really stood out for me. But
did it sound something like, "Why the fuck are you doing it like that?"
No, we all heard that plenty. We all heard that a lot. No, that was it. So and John has trained with him because I've hosted him for seminars and stuff. So we've all heard the same thing, right? what he said. He looked around and he said, do you know why warriors don't all live in the same place? You know why we're spread out around the world? And I'm thinking like, so we can protect people more. We're in, key areas. There's not enough of us to go around, that kind of thing. He said, no, if we all lived in one place, we'd fucking take over. So it's probably best for people that were spread out. So anyway, so there's that. Anyway, all right. So I got a couple of key questions for folks, the Q&A, that kind of thing, the toast and whatnot. But I decided, and I just scribbled stuff out, right? I decided that I was going to give away six programs and or learning kind of resources and stuff during this. So, James, were you able to access the online spinner kind of thing? We're going to play Wheel of Fortune with you, right? So not with James. James is going to play with your fortune. So you got it? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. All right. So now here are the rules, right? 1, your name only ends up on the spinner if you're here. 2, every once in a while, and one's coming up here, we're going to spin for one, right? You have like 30 seconds to a minute to reach out. I know you guys are all on your separate platforms. He can see that, right? So you need to raise your hand or go here or whatever, okay? And then we will reach out and make sure that we have email information and all that kind of stuff so we can get it to you tomorrow or later this week. But if you don't speak up, if you leave, you have to be present to win. Okay. So 30 seconds to a minute, we're spinning again. Okay. And this plays to something else that I learned along the way from Hatsumi Sensei and Shoshi Malmstrom and my most significant teachers and whatnot. Warriors are present. Warriors are engaged. Warriors are decision makers, right? That kind of thing, right? I could throw the word fearless out, but see, most people confuse bravery and fearlessness with like no fear. And it's not that. If you truly are fearless, you're stupid because you're going to make dumbass mistakes, right? You're one of these people that will run into the bear's den and poke it in the nose and see if you can get out alive before your lunch, right? Go ahead, John. You were going to say something.
The editor showed up for a second there, right, so
fair enough. Right? No, what most people miss is that people that have conduct acts of bravery, it's not that fear is not going on. It's that they can channel it and they act in spite of it, right? Because what they're engaged in needs to be done. Okay, we've talked about this during many different episodes. So before we go too far into this, right? We're going to do one of these prize things, but now that he's here, right? So this guy signed up for, of all things, I think the first program was like one of these philosophy things. What the hell's up with that? Something Mikyo related, and then he I don't know. Now he's in. What are you? You're in the Ninpo Master Class, and you're in the Tactical Warrior program. Is that right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and he came in for like our Daikomyo-sai, and I had him teach a session, and it was a success. So we'll probably invite him back. But anyway, right? So I didn't get anything from him for a background and stuff, so he's going to have to wing this on his own. So anyway, Victor, introduce yourself. Say hi.
Good. Hi.
Hey, look, it's Victor. Victor's a New Yorker transplanted to Florida, and then when he came up for Daikomyo-sai, didn't realize that a couple of years in Florida completely made you forget everything you learned about being in the Northeast in the wintertime.
Yeah, pussy now. Can I say that?
But that, yeah, whatever. You already said.
It sounded like you did.
Oh. But you bud.
He does it.
Yeah.
That's 3 drinks right there.
Anyway.
Fuck.
All right. So thanks for being here, Victor. Thanks for probably making it. He took a detour towards Cincinnati before he got back here.
Yeah, I'm a bad influence.
We're all bad influences.
It just when since they Jeff started talking and he started talking about significant people and so on. I'm thinking, am I a significant other? I didn't think I was.
Dude, don't start using words like that because I don't want to feel like a Mormon tonight. All right, and you guys are all the wrong. You got all the wrong parts.
Well, like my sister would say, the more men, the better.
Hey, and this is not even the joke period yet, right? So, and you're the reason I put a freaking ninja joke segment in this damn show. So, try to pace yourself.
Oh, okay. So I'll save my my ninja joke for later. Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay. So my name is Victor Acevedo. I'm originally from New York City, born and raised. And I am part of the Jack Hoban clan that started in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And I'm going back 1985.
Wow.
When I was young and good looking. Right now, I'm just good looking. Okay. So I was jotting down a couple things, and I was 19 years old when I started. When I walked through the doors. At the age of 20, I met Hatsumi Sensei for the first time.
You're like a Jewish grandmother. You keep pointing. You don't write. You don't call.
I used to hang around with all the Italians.
Sorry, go ahead.
So so pretty much I've been around training. I'm one of those. I kind of march to my own beat. I'm not much of a follower. I'm kind of like lost in space kind of person. I train as hard as I can, and I just enjoy myself. This is just my way of doing things.
Fantastic. And I appreciate you being here and making the warp drive detour. But anyway, no, it's all good. It's all good. Thanks, man.
And again, congratulations, 200. That is amazing. Not many people last past 75 years old. You're 200 years old. Congratulations.
You're making it for spring camp, aren't you? You better.
That's okay.
Anyway, all right. So let's see. We went through that stuff, backgrounds. Oh shit! What do I have here? Oh, you know what? Let's do a let's do a prize, right? Let's spin for a prize. Again, you have to be present for all this stuff. If you cut out, if we bore you, well, okay. I understand bedtimes. I understand that some of you guys also live on other sides of the planet too. So if you're listening to this, we have a huge following, obviously, on the audio only thing. We just made a decision a long time ago that based on technology and whatnot, I was going to kill multiple birds with one stone. And YouTube has caught up and everything because now there's a separate section in YouTube for these visual podcasts, right? So, it seems like it's been forever ago, and it has, but a bunch of years ago, and we're talking. Jesus, John, I was in. It was the first official dojo I think we had because I was in Northumberland, right? Because
Queen Street, yeah,
in my backyard. So
yeah, we were in the backyard, and then we were on Queen Street, yeah. So it was in the backyard.
So, and we had this. For anybody that's ever lived in the country, we had a sand mound as a part of the septic system, right? Which made for great rolling exercises because I made people roll up and downhill. Downhill was easy, right? First time I rolled uphill, they looked at me like I was like magical. But rolling is an exercise in balance control and managing gravity and inertia.
Well, I went more enchanted than fully magical. It was a little under that. But
motherfucker. Anyway, I feel like I'm doing an episode of like Larry the Cable Guy and his Fun Bunch on Wednesdays on Sirius or whatever. Anyway. So, and only because you're here, John. So, yeah, no worries. So anyway, I had decided that I was just going to, I've always been a writer and whatnot. So I was going to write articles And again, the internet was new. It was new to me, right? So I just started putting out articles, right? Just these little instruction things. And they were actually double duty, because then I had a hard newsletter that I did. It was even before Ninja News that I did. That was an in-house for the dojo. I had this one called Hanya, and Hanya is the Japanese pronunciation of the word prajna from Sanskrit, which means insight, and more specifically, the insight necessary for enlightenment to take place. So again, we all like Japanese shit. So I picked this cool sounding name that had some meaning to it. And so I did this thing, and next thing I know, I get this phone call from some guy who wanted to talk to me for an interview, because I was on a list of the 20 most influential martial artists on the internet. And it was because this stuff was circulating all over the place. And I'm like, what the hell, right? So I guess the point is I just do what I do. And my thing is getting information out to students. And of course, right, I need to make a living and all that kind of stuff. But anybody that's ever been in my programs knows that I over-deliver. Classes run late, seminars run late. And I don't mean like seminars I've been to that are just mismanaged and not structured very well, where they start late. I mean, I need to answer students' questions and get stuff out and stuff. So anyway, we'll talk more about this stuff as we go along. But everybody here is connected to me either through programs and whatnot, but even long term. So Lee is incidental. I mean, direct now, but incidental because that was the Bud Malmstrom trip, right? John's been with me since I was with Stephen Hayes, and through. Yep. I mean, he was with me when I was a freaking green belt, right? I mean,
yep.
Back, right? Watched me go through all kinds of ranks, and he's been like one of my top uke. That's what happens when people show up and they're really flexible, right? James,
you enjoy it.
Yeah, James been around for a long time, and long distance as well. I mean, most of my students, John lives. I think when you first started with me, you lived over an hour away.
Yep.
You were in Berwick, right? So,
yep.
James was in Lewistown. That's what, James, an hour and 20, give or take?
No, it's about an hour.
About an hour, okay.
Over an hour in Sunbury.
Yeah, about an hour, and everybody else is. So, Victor, right, through Jack Hoban, right? And we don't have enough time for all these freaking stories. But my first encounter with Jack Hoban, I lost lunch, and I don't mean I threw up. There was a break for lunch at a seminar, the Stephen K. seminar, and I made the mistake of asking a question, and the lesson was over after everybody else was coming back from lunch, and then he was explaining things to them at my expense. And so, I mean, just long friendships and all that. And as a matter of fact, one of my Shoshi Paul, who passed away 2 years ago, he was in Japan with me when he took his 5th Dan test, and I wasn't ranked high enough at that point, and the test was administered by Jack Hoban. So that was a really cool thing. So anyway, so we're all connected in the same thing, even though we didn't grow up. We grew up in the same dojos, but not at the same time, which is really cool, right? Small world, and everything kind of comes back. Anyway, so James, did you get people plugged in and stuff like that? I mean, we were up to 21, 22 that I could see live. I don't know how many other people are out there that are just not signed in, or they're using, if you're using a VPN or whatever, sorry, if we can't see you, your name doesn't end up on the list.
Well, the only way we can get the names is if they comment.
The only ways we can get the names if you comment. So let's do this. I will toss something out very, very quickly here for the guys to start answering. You have about 1 minute to 2 minutes to pop some kind of comment in if you want to be entered into this first spin for one of these things. And I'll give you an example of what we got. And these are not cheap things. The cheapest thing on here is like my life purpose discovery process, which a lot of these guys have already gone through and knows how significant this thing is. It's a condensation of things that I got through both my martial arts instructors and other mentors that I've had, and my Miko teacher. So it's a distillation. It's all in English. So if you only go through programs that have kanji and Japanese terminology, and that's what gets you all warm and fuzzy, then sorry, this is not going to work for you. But it's normally $37, right? I've got another one. Our Ninpo Mastermind or Master Class is it's actually our advanced black belt classes, our Shinobi Kai classes, out of the dojo twice a week. There's a Tuesday class and there's a Friday class, 6 p.m. Eastern. Everything's recorded, so a lot of people that are in it end up watching the recordings. But you get both of those classes a month, and I think, James, we didn't take it down yet, right? There's still like over $1,300 in programs that are bonuses, and that for when people first enroll, right? Yeah, so you get the recordings, you get the classes, you get feedback, people can ask questions, but it's actually the live classes at the dojo. I'm giving away a month, right? And that's normally $47 a month. What else do I have on here? I have a one-on-one coaching call with me. No strings attached. If you want to look at getting into a program after that, that's fine. But we're going to talk about your background, your goals, what your training is with, or where you might be stuck or whatever. And I'm going to give you tips and whatnot to go. I charge $250 an hour for group coaching and stuff. So that's what that one's worth. Bunch of years ago, I did a Sanshin Kyonapo home study course that originally started out on DVD, and it was a seminar. As a matter of fact, James was there, right? And we had to rush through the last couple of techniques because, like, I spent probably half a day just on Chi no Kata. But I have, way back in the day, these things were not as crystallized as most people think. See, here's a problem that people have when they get involved in training, okay? Especially stuff that's long-term like this. They have a conscious, subconscious, or unconscious tendency to believe that the way they encountered it is the right way, and it's the way it's always been.
Anchoring bias.
What's that?
Anchoring bias.
Anchoring bias, absolutely. How many of these biases do I talk about on cognitive dissonance, all kinds of stuff, right?
Anything with anchoring coming from a Navy guy.
Yeah. That program has literally multiple versions of the same techniques because they didn't have the names that you were probably introduced to. Okay. Anyway, so that one, when it was released, was $297 for a 12 DVD set. It's now all digital, right? But I think the price still the same, James? Is it still $297?
Yes, I believe so.
Something like that, right? Let's see. Our Module 1 Foundations of Ninja Self-Defense course, which is the Module 1 for this 5-module kind of series that I have from white belt to black belt. And anybody can attest that I'm not just throwing a couple of token techniques and skills at you and then we give you rank. There's Victor's in Module 2. Lee has gone through Module 1 and Module 2. More than a couple of techniques, Lee?
Lots of techniques. And
variations and personal development lessons and right? So with coaching, there's some coaching that comes along with that and all that. I think I raised the price to $597, but I just put the current thing that's on the page at the moment because we didn't make it evergreen just yet. It's $397. Yes, I have payment plans on my stuff, but either way. And then the other thing that I'm offering is a ticket to our upcoming spring camp. That's April 26th, 27th, and 28th. And full ticket on that one is $280. So not giving away cheap shit, right? And even if the dollar price is low, the training value is not. So, everybody that's training knows that the last thing the internet needs is one more ninja instructor or bujinkan instructor teaching the same techniques the same way. So this ain't that, because you don't need me to siphon through YouTube and have a 5,001 guy showing Seon the same way or whatever, right? So if that's your jazz, then this isn't it. This is about structured training and a logical path based on my other studies about the way human beings learn the quickest and that kind of stuff, right? So, and it all ties together. It's like jigsaw puzzle pieces that go together, and not learning in a vacuum. Okay. Anyway, James, did I give him enough time for people to actually like pipe up and say, "Hey, put me on the spinner board"?
Yes, we got some.
Fantastic. All right. So the first one, let's see. I'm just gonna drop a pen and see what happens. Okay. So looks like we are doing the 1 month of Ninpo Mastermind. That means you're going to get 8 classes, and those classes are 75 to 90 minutes each. And even if you can't make it, you're getting the recordings. If you can make it, you're getting the live class and the recordings. So shut up, take them both. All right. So anyway, right, that's valued at $47. So I'm going to have James share his screen, and we'll make this like all game-like. Look, it's there.
Ooh, does it make the ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta sound? I love that at the carnival.
It makes like a boop, 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 boop kind of thing. There's not enough names on there. All right. Anyway, all right. So again, this is for the Ninpo Mastermind, a month, and $47 value. Go ahead, James. Hit it. Oh, look at that. Does it pop confetti when it lands? Who gets it? Roman.
Roman. Come on down.
Oh my God. I'm sorry for those of you on Apple Podcasts and Pandora and stuff where it's audio only, because we just got all jazzed by spinning wheels.
We are easily entertained.
And Roman, you should have been at Daikomyosai.
What's that?
The Roman should have been at Daikomyosai. I remember him when I was at the fall camp.
Roman, yeah, I know. Roman. Anyway, so maybe there'll be a way to get Roman back into classes. So, yay, Roman! All right, Roman Dybert. He's actually one of my local guys that's taking some time off and all that. So, yay, Roman! All right, so I need to pen this in here, right? Roman Reigns. My pen's not working. See, it must be that Roman shouldn't get the prize because my pen isn't writing his name. Roman.
So what was your first question for everybody?
Oh, yeah, that's the next thing on the list. Hold on a second. Stop being so damn imperative, you drunk.
Hey, I can't direct you. You know, we're not on the floor right now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Break another one of your body parts. Anyway, so, all right. So this is an open discussion, right? Open discussion. And I'm not going to go first, right? I'll actually go last on this one. So my first question is, again, some of you guys have done martial arts before. You've done other self-defense programs and whatnot. And you're like sticky boogers. I mean, you're still with this, right? You've been around for a long time, right? It's a simple question. Why Ninjutsu? Right? And when I say why Ninjutsu, you guys have been around long enough to know that we used to do Ninjutsu, lots of topics, not just the primary focus that a lot of people are doing now. And it looks like Victor needs to talk. He needs to say something. I keep seeing his lips moving. So we're going to let the New Yorker transplanted to Florida go first. Point. So go ahead, dude. Why Ninjutsu?
I have to laugh because, Ninjutsu wasn't my goal. I mean, okay, I didn't do martial arts.
You're just going to keep backing up?
Yeah.
God, I hope I'm never near you when you're driving.
Yeah, I'm trying to
He's a New York driver anyway. Come on.
No.
So I didn't do martial arts. I did some boxing as a kid, and I sucked at it. So, as far as hand-to-hand skills, I was kind of like on the weekend on that. But, I had a friend that did Kung Fu, and then he used to buy those Kung Fu magazines and then introduce me to, Stephen Hayes and so on. And then I started reading, and, pretty much it wasn't, I just read an article in probably Black Belt magazine or something like that Jack Coban is going to be in New Jersey, and they gave a P.O. box. And I wrote to him. He wrote back, sent me a flyer, Asbury Park, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and that, show up or don't kind of thing.
You know, a lot of people hid behind P.O. boxes way back in the day because the fucking wing nuts that used to show up at seminars, we used to have a joke. Come on, man, your name can't possibly be Bob, right? I mean, people were giving fake names and all kinds of shit early on. It was, holy crap.
Oh.
Talk about the wing nuts coming out of the freaking woodwork. Holy shit.
Oh, my God. Okay. If he's listening, I don't mean any disrespect, but there was this one guy that his parents owned a.
This one guy at Ninja Camp.
I was waiting for that.
One time at Ninja Camp. Sorry, go ahead.
His parents owned a porn shop.
Ninja porn.
Wait, pawn shop or
porn? Oh, wait, porn
shop?
or pawn?
I can't tell through the New York accent.
I'm hoping for porn.
All right.
Vibrators, movies, everything.
That is not a hanbo.
Training to a whole different level. We're doing knife defense. Why is your knife vibrating?
Yeah. So strange people used to show up.
Anyway, back to your story about you.
Oh, I just. Oh
my God.
I read he was going to be in New Jersey, and I wrote to him, and then he sent me the flyer, so I just went. I had no freaking idea what the hell I'm involved with. I just
see, there you go. Victor was one of those fucking wing nuts that showed up.
Yeah. I was like,
smile and wave, boys.
I'm here to learn.
Smile and wave.
Oh my freaking God. Is that it? That's your story?
That's my story.
That's why ninjutsu? You've stuck around since 95.
I didn't even know what the hell I was getting involved with.
Your origin story kept you around for it. This is all about friends, isn't it? Because otherwise it'd be you and your cats. Oh, and a dog. I'm sorry, and a dog. My dog's
it's cat in disguise.
Somewhere.
Ninja cat.
Cat in disguise. What's his name? Dog cat.
Oreo, like the cookie.
Cool.
All right. Anyway. Holy shit.
Yeah. So
somebody else go before this guy keeps talking.
My story is simple. I
hope your students are watching.
They better be.
There you go. There was a switch in personality.
Oh, yeah. I told them if they don't, watch that, I was gonna beat the crap out of them.
That's what all teachers say.
Everyone gets one ranked demotion.
Well, you know what? I take that back because I get the heart side of things that Hatsumi Sensei has been teaching, but it can't only be me that's gone to seminars or gone to Japan, and maybe it's just my background and my experience, because not everybody's duck bullets and people trying to stab you and shit like that. But the number of people that I've seen having high belt ranks, that when you look in their eyes, and I don't mean like an enlightened, wise, compassionate person who can take care of things when it needs to be taken care of. I mean the look in somebody's eyes that just screams they don't have a violent bone in their body, and they should be thankful that they found a martial art where they can get to that rank. But do you understand what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about a benevolent person who chooses peace but keeps the monster at bay, and if necessary,
Well, see, that's kind of why I got involved.
Fighting monks and the Dop warriors who got the Dalai Lama out of Tibet when he was 5 or 6 years old, that kind of thing, where these people are practitioners and they're enlightened and that kind of thing. But
well, my whole thing
out of the basket.
My whole thing about getting involved was the fact that I had gone through a couple different styles, and you'd be doing sparring. Now, in one of the schools that I was in, they were having a spar out in the middle of the floor. I'm probably, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years old. And they put me against this 22-year-old guy. And I'm short. I mean, okay, I'm 5'3". I like to say 5'3.5" because that half inch really matters. But I'm back then I was very short, you know, and I was in there because I wanted to learn how to fight. Well, these guys, the sensei is over in the corner and he's yelling, "You don't back away. You must go at him. You must punch. You must." And I'm like, I'm gonna piss my gi here. I'm not running towards him. And I'd gone through a couple different styles. I'd tried different things out over the years. And I think I was in junior high, and I ran into one of the first articles from Steve, and I started seeking out stuff from him. You know, I'm putting out a book, and I found the first in the Ohara series, and I'm reading it.
Nice T-shirt.
Oh yeah, this is Festival '93.
Yeah. Look at that.
And I'm reading through the Ohara book, and he's going through the different aspects of the elements.
Yeah, options.
And how. Yeah, and if you feel fear in this one, I'm like, wait a minute, martial art, and you feel fear. Okay, I'm looking into this.
Yeah.
Because it says it's okay, as we've called it, Nike Jutsu. It's okay to run.
Yeah.
And I that has had me hooked ever since. That you don't have to, just because somebody comes at you with aggression, you don't have to respond with aggression. You can back down. You can leave. You don't have to.
One more person here says that they started off with an article, right? I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't make empty threats or whatever. But
well, I wasn't watching those videos back in those days. So
no, mine was an article as well. I mean, Victor said, you said, mine was an article as well. Now, I had been through the encyclopedia of martial arts because I was not a strong kid growing up or whatever. Started in a karate class that formed, it was like an extracurricular thing. Met Wednesday nights or Wednesday afternoons, right after school was over, kind of thing. And so I went through a bunch of these things. There was a period in my life where I was just looking at everything and anything because, for those of you who know my backstory, life wasn't great and abusers abound, right? And so I went in the military, went the law enforcement track and whatnot, and I had been collecting martial arts magazines, and there were these used ones because I was in South Korea, so these shops would have these things where guys would sell them in trade for, whatever, a suit or lunch or whatever. And so I would buy these things, and it was just one day I had off and I had nothing to do. There was no training, there was no whatever. And I was just, I pick up an issue, whatever it was, right? Could have been black belt, could have been inside Kung Fu, whatever, right? And so I would literally turn the cover. I read everything, every ad, every letter to the editor, whatever. And I remember hitting this article. Now, leading up to that point, remember, I'm reading these magazines, right? And there's this book for sale with this hooded guy who, to me, based on my background in the early 80s, was a terrorist, right? There was this, all you saw were the eyes and whatever, right? There's this hooded head on well, back then they were black and white, but when it was in color, it was an orange cover, right? And it was just the ninja, right? And I'm like, who that?
Was that the Draeger book?
People will no. People will sell anything. People will buy anything, whatever, right? And I'm going through these magazines, and I hit this. I'm reading every article. Right? It didn't matter if it was Hapkido. It didn't matter, right? Reading this thing, I get 2 paragraphs into this, and I'm like, holy shit! I got to do this, and I got to do it with this guy. His name was Stephen K. Hayes. That article was an excerpt from that book that I kept avoiding because of the picture on the front cover. Right? It was Ohara Volume 1. Right?
Oh, yeah, the first one was orange, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was before Greg Manchess, one of my peers coming up through the yard, redid all the covers and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, it's a National Geographic level freaking artist, right?
Beautiful
work. Anyway, back to your thing. Sorry about that, but that's just that.
No. That's about it. I mean, I think everybody here can probably unanimously say that it was an article or something like that that got them involved because of how far back Most of us started because it's where we got our information.
Nothing better to do.
I didn't. I didn't come at it from an article because I don't read.
He does radio. Remember,
I'm the one guy who
for
doesn't
radio.
read.
He has an aptitude for radio.
Yeah, my introduction was from somebody who was already going to the school. You know, I've kind of haphazardly fell into.
Yeah, he was looking for Tai Chi, and
I
didn't
wasn't
think any other martial art had this.
Seeking it out or anything, and because of a friend who I went to class there with.
You guys
Miller.
were school friends, right? You both moved in from California.
We were friends from birth because our parents were friends from like high school. So we were closest family basically, and yeah. So he's like, you got to check this out. So I watch a class and go, well, that's pretty cool. And then it wasn't much longer that I came to a class and signed right up, just because I just had a lot of curiosity in it, but because I kind of aimlessly came to it, I soon kind of realized or learned like I need this because I'm just aimlessly bouncing through life, and this is challenging me to like think about things that I hadn't thought about, or actually make a plan.
Pointing to not just the physical techniques.
Yes, yeah, and that really, as I just kept learning more and getting more involved, I just kept falling down that rabbit hole further and further. And so you know, I also kind of realized too that, you know, through working on the techniques and being in class, the physical side of it, like I was never drawn to boxing or these athletic, you know, types of what I always thought of as martial arts. But, you know, when the first time it's like you point out the right angle to step back into, and it's like, well, you see, they can't reach your face, but you can reach theirs. It was like, ding, you know, the light bulb goes off, and it's like, that's magical. It's so simple, but that's what really kept my
I point that out in class
going.
a lot. I point out Murphy's rules of combat, and one of those is if he's in range, so are you. Yeah, we flip that on its end because we figure out how to do it. So he's in range, but we're not in range for him, right?
Yeah.
It's the science. It's cool shit, right? What's amazing to me, and I'm sure you've seen it as well because you've been to Japan and whatnot, the number of people that need this to be more like other fight styles, and so they end up changing it. Do you know what I mean? I've seen people that I've seen videos where somebody will say that like Ichimonji is too slow to deal with like a speed fighter, right? So they change it this way. And I look at the kamae and I'm like, well, there's no freaking way that you can move quickly from the way you're doing it. So I know what you think is Ichimonji, but your anatomy's off, your physiology's off. So you're making something that looks like what you think you saw, but there's a reason that that's too slow. Right? It has nothing to do with the art, has nothing to do with that kamae. It has to do with either your interpretation because you're doing this on your own, right? Nothing like a do-it-yourselfer, right? Trying to figure out something that doesn't compute well, right? Based on conventional knowledge, right? Or your teacher has not smacked you in the ass and they're letting you do you. Okay. John, you and I have heard this over the years, right? Well, my teacher said that was natural for me. And Hatsumi Sensei said that like everybody's going to move based on how their body naturally moves. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a right way.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Your leg length, like you have a long torso and short legs. I tend to have an even kind of thing. Some people have a short torso and long legs. Right. So yes, you're going to adapt to that. So we're not going to come and measure the distance between your feet. I've been in those classes, right? The teacher's feet were 30 inches apart. So yours said, I'm freaking short. My feet are not going that, whatever. Right. So, but, people have their interpretation of what a fight should look like. And so they're trying to get this to conform. And so it just gets all freaking twisted, right? When it's the principles and concepts that lead everything. It's why at Hatsumi Sensei's level, before he obviously retired and now he's in a wheelchair, right? People wouldn't use these words, I bet, but it looks like he's doing mush, right? They don't want to have to go through the same process he did for decades.
But I have the feeling that Even in that wheelchair?
Result. So they move around in Shizen, but what they don't understand is he doesn't need the kamae and he doesn't need the structure because he has mastered timing, distancing, angling, and kotsu, the essential nature of the technique.
I imagine he's the most dangerous person to ever be in a wheelchair.
Oh, and there's that, right? Absolutely.
Well, I like how you bring up principle too, because what's so attractive about this to me is just the constant state of feeling like you're a beginner, because there's just so much to unpack, and as you continue to like see something as basic and then all of a sudden it's big, but then it's basic again. And principle, like discussing like the Mushadori principle, like understanding that part of it. At first it's like we're learning all these techniques, oh my god, and I'm trying to like cram all this stuff in for my test.
Reflection of that principle, but it's not the only way to do it, right? Yeah,
they're all branched off that. Then you go, oh, it's this principle.
Well,
but then it's like, well, that opens up 1,000 more doors. So then you're back to, I've got so many more techniques to do. That's all Mushadori principle. It's like, it's really just, it's always something that kind of captivates at least like my interest. I'm somebody who
there is no end.
ADHD, I lose interest in like squirrel, right? But there's just because of that, it speaks to my nature, I guess. Well, and just I never liked all the bros kind of attitude of a lot of other people that I thought I saw in those schools. Not that they're like that, but that's just kind of
most of my best students have never sought it. They were never looking to be a fighter. Yeah. Now they have what I would call a warrior protector or a hero tendency, where if bad shit happens, they want to be the guy that can help protect people, but not the guy like, I did that. That was me, right? Not that kind of thing, right? So, and most of them are family oriented, guys and girls, right? That kind of thing. They're not looking for things, but they want to be prepared should something occur. And it's just a very different personality. I'm not knocking the other ones. Everybody's going to do what they do, right? But this is about being innocuous, right? This is about being literally invisible, right? And I've often said this art had to get changed. It had to morph to get more people, because you got to, in any population, there's a very small percentage that want to seek that kind of thing. There's a theory that's out there, and it's not a theory. It's called game theory, right? So for everybody that plays video games and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's this concept. It's called game theory, and what game theory points out is that in any group, so this is not just games. This game theory can be applied to any structure. Can be applied to farming. Can be applied to artistry of any kind. Can be applied to radio DJs, whatever, right? Pick a thing, right? And so what it points out is that 20% of that group will be able to, because of the way they think and the way they process things, they will be able to produce the same outcome as the other 80% combined. Mm-hmm. Then there is 1 or 2% out of that group of 20% that will take it that much farther, that they're able to exponentially produce more than that group. And so that's where this 1%er kind of thing comes around. And see what ends up happening, and it happens in game theory as well. The 80% think that the 20% must be cheating. And the 20% think that the 1 to 2% are cheating. But they're not cheating. What's that?
I'm cheating.
Yeah, they're not cheating.
I go for cheating.
What they've done is they have looked at things much more deeply, and they understand the workings at this principle and concept level, and they're using things like leverage. They're using things like networking and associations and things like that to be able to produce greater results from less effort, which is what ninjutsu is all about. But I've often said that people that have a need to be the guy, that need that rank, they need a fixed black and white kind of thing, right? I know this many techniques, I know whatever, okay? Ninjutsu is not a thing. I mean, people can call anything they want, right? But we're in a realm that's like the guys that work for NSA and CIA and stuff like that, right? These guys get killed in the line of duty. They have an unnamed blank star on a wall or on a floor or whatever, and only their closest family members knows that that's them. There's no accolades. There's no anything, right? And the shit that they stop and they accomplish and whatnot, nobody ever knows anything about it, okay? I mean, I'm just the fat old bald guy to most people on the internet that have seen my videos. I mean, how many times you guys have been in the dojo and people have come in and they want to talk to the master instructor, and literally people have done this, right? Where they'll point over at me and they'll go, "You mean the chubby guy?" And they'll go, "Yeah, just feel free to punch him." You know, that kind of thing, right? You guys are laughing.
Yeah, but for what Eric was saying, I think of this on a level of fractal geometry. You're zooming in, and no matter how far you zoom in, there's still more coming out of it. The fractals never end.
Quantum physics is the same thing.
Yeah, you can go to one technique and then find an infinite amount of. You could build an entire martial art off of a technique.
The whole principle is all about, right? It's not 8 techniques. I mean, linguistically in Japanese, that would be Kihon-Appan, 8 things. Kihon-Appo as a principle that was taught by Takamatsu Sensei to Hatsumi Sensei and was the crux of training all the way up till about 84, which is why you guys are getting this from me, right? Is you take any technique or any movement and you make 8 variations of that thing, and then make 8 variations of each of those things and 8 variations until eventually that initial impetus movement or technique or whatever just becomes an option potential among how many options, right? And so the goal is not to memorize things or to be some walking, talking encyclopedia, right? And now those of us who teach need to know those things because it's the introductory lesson. But ultimately, you know, it's so much more than that, right? To where you can drop the form, but you never drop the lesson, right? When Hatsumi Sensei says or said, forget the technique, forget the lesson. One, how the hell do you forget something that you never knew? And two, once it's ingrained in muscle memory, you can forget it up here, but you don't need to remember it. Kind of like had forgetting how to drive. You'd have to
it comes out when it's needed.
You'd have to have Alzheimer's, right? I mean, you could be thinking about the driving process, but if somebody looks like they're not going to stop at a stop sign, how many movements does your body make before you even realized that you already hit the brakes and you already steered the steering wheel and you already moved the vehicle just how far it needed to go? But as a teenager, holy shit, you'd have driven off the road, right? Or driven into the guy or whatever, because left brain is too slow, right? Anyway, Lee's there nodding. Lee, what do you got? Why Ninjutsu?
Why Ninjutsu?
Because your parents threw you at it when you were 12. You had no choice. Here, go to that class.
No, you know, no. The weirdest thing, and this is our connection between me and Victor, is that it was a goofy origin story, but
I get it.
The reason I started is not the reason I continued. The reason I started is because Ninja Turtles are cool.
Fair enough.
They are.
And it represented, like I look back on it now, the Ninja Turtles represented a form of power and strength that was not obvious. And I was not a person that knew what strength was at the time. So learning this was like, well, first of all, it's not supposed to exist. Ninjas are dead. They died off years ago. And then we passed this thing, said Ninjutsu self-defense on a black board and a yellow letters in Mission Square in Columbus, Georgia. I had to go. So I did. and we trained upstairs dojo, downstairs dojo. He's moved a couple times, but there's speak on fractal geometries. You think you know something by being introduced to it and having a name to it. And names and labels don't. It's like the difference between an acquaintance and someone you've grown up with your entire life. Mr. White, you would know this, right? From the friend that's been your friend for your entire life. Like, they don't make those friends anymore, right? Like they're a brother more than a friend. And learning to make ninjutsu a part of my family, or become a part of the ninjutsu family, has been one of the goals that you may or may not know that you've got when you're training. And so for me, it's social connection. I mean, it's the three refuges: social connection, understanding of the lineage, and understanding that the techniques actually work through technicalities, like that it's technically works, because nothing is left. And this is something I'm still learning on, is nothing is left unimportant. That's an easy thing to say, but not a really easy thing to practice.
And how many times do I say that in programs? People quit because this shit's hard.
The simplest is the most difficult.
Yeah. So cool beans. And that family thing, right? There are all these stories, right? Then to get into a ninja group, I mean, they guarded their secrets. I don't know how many people know this. They could read the story about Oda Nobunaga, and I mean, he was a cruel bastard. His family didn't even like him, right? Was trying to unify Japan. He just had this power quest. But when he attacked the Iga region, right, he had already burned Enryakuji for the first time, which is the seat of Tendai Shu, right? The Miko thing that I'm associated with, right? But Iga actually laid between him and the next conquest he really wanted, right? Well, if anybody's been to Japan with me, all you need to do is do a bus drive or a train or whatever and realize this is fucking difficult to attack. These freaking mountains go like straight up and straight down. These were rough people, right? But what they don't understand is during the siege, right, when his son first tried to do it, right, he got his ass handed to him because the information thing. But when Oda Nobunaga went back, he came at it from 5 areas. So there was no place to run, and they burned everything. They killed everybody, right? Well, they actually didn't kill everybody. What people don't know, well, one, there was a whole bunch that got away. However, the ones who could not get away, they killed their children before they killed themselves. And it had nothing to do with dying at their own hands rather than having the enemy kill me. It was because of their secrets. Their approach to things could not get out. And they were especially going to keep it out of the hands of someone who would obviously abuse it. And I don't think that there's enough fucking student vetting going on today, which is why in my upper level programs, Lee knows, everybody's ever been in my inner circle kind of stuff. We get on a phone call first. Mm-hmm. And then it's a tentative thing until you decide and I decide that this is going to be, because there has to be a fit. And it's not a 2-way fit, it's a 3-way fit. Because if I hand this stuff to the wrong person, it's like handing a loaded gun to a baby. Or I'm handing a howitzer to somebody who's just going to abuse it, right? But this is not just about me. This is about my teacher. This is about the lineage, right? This is not about doing it right. This is about there's a lot of stuff that I don't think people really get. The number of people that I've talked to when I go to Japan, Eric knows this. He's been to Japan with me. Some other folks have. But I go to Japan. We're not just training at Hombu, right? We have these day trips to different places, right? We go to Kyoto, and I take people to Nijo Castle. Oh, that's cool. No, the Nightingale floor that surrounds the inner palace was designed by Hattori Hanzo. Who's Hattori Hanzo? Well, he was a great samurai from Iga. From Iga, right? Okay. It's a floating deck that has no pins, no whatever, and when you walk on it, it chirps. Hence, Nightingale Floor, right? It was designed by a ninja to catch a ninja, because he and his family were in charge of inner security, right? There's an abutment. There's a castle, like a sidewall and whatnot. I mean, things have changed over time or whatever, but I'll take a group up there. And in 2004, I remember this distinctly because Eric was there, Shidoshi Whistler was there, Pete Beck was there. These were my black belts that were teaching classes, or they were upper level intermediate seniors, right? We're standing out there and we're looking out over Kyoto. And I just had this urge to look at everybody and say, you do realize that back in the day, Tokugawa would have been standing here with his closest generals, surveying the landscape and deciding what was going to go next. And there, my closest guys were with me. I'm known for doing things like that. Yeah, Eric?
Oh, yeah.
Take you to the place where Daisuke Nishina trained, right? Before he became known as Daisuke Togakure. And by the way, he didn't found the Togakure school. His grandson did. And then decided that his dad and his grandfather would be the first and second Soke, right? Even though he did it, but it was still working 3 generations in, right? So grandpa's really the guy that came down off the mountain, right? But I take him to a training spot that is now bare. It's just a little field. And I let him walk around for a little while. There's only one little plaque with some kanji on it that designate that there was a Shugendo dojo there centuries ago. And they have to walk across, like it's this little, it looks like a fallen tree, but it's actually a little bridge that goes across a mountain stream.
Yeah.
Right? There's no railings. They don't have shit like that in Japan, right? Walk across at your own risk. And I walk them over and let them mill around for a while. And I go, what do you think? What do they do, Eric? Oh, neat. what
we started training.
Yeah, we started doing some things and whatnot. And I go, by the way, 1,000 years ago, there was a guy named Daisuke Nishina. You know that name? Oh, yeah, we know that name. Oh, great. There was a dojo that stood right there. I know that because the Shugendo, the mountain priest, the Yamabushi, still go to that spot multiple times a year and walk in a circle doing mantra, right? I know this because I've been up there late winter, early spring, when most of the snow is gone, except that there is a risen crescent ring that goes around that has been packed down and will melt slowest because they've been there still honoring that spot. But I let the students know that you are now standing where a founder of one of our oldest lineages trained when he was a student just like you. Because I need for them to understand. You can hold these guys in high reverence, but don't ever forget that they were once students. They had to walk the same path. You're not walking a path that's any different than anyone that you hold in high revere. The question is, will you stick with it long enough that generations from now, somebody will say, hey, my teacher so-and-so, or my teacher's teacher so-and-so, right? There was this thing, right? They may not remember the techniques you taught. They may be teaching differently or whatever, but there might be one quote that you passed on that they're going to pass on. My teacher said this thing and made all the difference in the world. Or my teacher told my teacher told my. That's how this stuff lasts. It doesn't have to be in a dojo. Lee, it can be in your classrooms. James, it can be in your family. You understand where I'm going with this, right? I mean, hell, before this whole episode started, Eric said that his son wears that dojo T-shirt, and he gets a chance to see it from the outside. Was it? Yep. T-shirt? Yeah. So you get to, because, when we're wearing them, we can't see it, right? We see what everybody else is wearing, right? So it's pretty freaking cool stuff, I think. I think all human beings look for something of significance to be a part of. We found this. For other people, it's religion. For other people, it's family. For other people, and I'm not saying that you guys aren't close with family or whatever, but I believe that sometimes the closest family aren't born under the same roof. And Bufu, Martial Brotherhood, that's pretty freaking, that's right up there with like cops who bond, soldiers who bond, whatever, because there's things that you do and there's things that we collectively understand dealing with each other that our spouses will never understand, no matter how close we are, that our other family members will never understand, no matter how close we are. And it's not that we're excluding them. There's not that connection. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I have a difficult time answering that question. Well, I needed to, because part of me has always been looking for this thing, but I didn't have a name for it. But I got 2 paragraphs into that article. This is something I had to friggin' check out, because I had been through a whole bunch of martial arts, and there was always something that didn't fit. There was always something that was off. And again, abused child, all kinds of violence in my life, became a cop, got a chance to see the worst that humanity can produce, and had to handle it. And so I was looking. I would never have said I was looking for martial arts. I settled on, okay, let me look into this martial art. That would be a kung fu class. Let me look into this martial art. But I was also looking into this self-defense system, that guy who knows self-defense, that guy, whatever, right? I had no name for this. Okay. So the cool part was that I had a name to put to it, but then I kind of feel lucky because I got involved in this art in 1980, 81. And so there was a transition because, again, prior to 84, the way this art was passed on was very, very different, right? We didn't use names for techniques. John knows my earliest freaking books, right? Ichimonji versus the hook punch, Jumonji, because all I had was a reference to the way we started or what we used and something to, right? And so I had all these options, right?
And then so many names changed over time.
Oh, and so many names changed. Holy crap. We went from like Kasasagi for magpie to Ujaku, same kanji, different reading. This is the way it would have been read back then. This is the way. So, I mean, like, but people want to like attach to those things, that name and form kind of thing, right? And the cool thing is that, and what really attracted me to this was not just those things, but I was a cop at that point. So I had liability considerations, right? I need to be able to adapt to certain things. I need to be able to use this as an authority figure, but not go to jail myself for police brutality, the psychological aspects of it, how do I keep my heart pure, even though I had to do these brutal things. That's all part of Seishin Teki. It's the very first area of study for a ninja.
So,
right?
Question, because I always think about this. Did you choose the martial art, or did the martial art choose you? I
can't answer that, because I truly do believe that I'm attracted to the spiritual aspects of it. I'm attracted to the whole thing. I do believe that I have a warrior protector nature, but I also have a spiritual life journey nature as well. And I truly do believe that this art in its purest form takes care of both of those. So who knows? Maybe this is my religion. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both, because we can have a nature, but we can resist it at every turn. I mean, human beings throughout history have been trying to subjugate, conquer, and deny nature. Right. So, I mean, part of that has gotten us where we are. The other part of it has gotten us where we fucking are. So here we are. Anyway, so we'll keep going with this kind of thing, but we need to do another little spin thing. So James, and you're not getting out of this because you need to answer the why ninjutsu thing too, because you're one of the weirdos in the group. So anyway. You have it all loaded up? There you go. Okay, so wait, what are we doing? What are we doing this time? Shit, it rolled. Sorry. Life purpose discovery process. So this is a five exercise process. Looks simple, looks short, takes a while to go through if you do it right. Okay. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Right. So normal value is $37, but the value as far as a life directing kind of thing, not so much, right? Not so cheap. So anyway, go ahead, Ninja Production God. Oh, Dave Fletch. Yay, there it is. All right, awesome. All right, so
I don't know you, Dave, but you really need that.
Shit. All right. Some of you guys that are getting these things, that you're students of one sort or another, and I know you're in programs that might have these things or whatever. So we'll talk about it later. If you already have the program, I'll substitute it out for something of like value on both sides, right? Personal and monetary. So would you get the life purpose LP program? All right. So who didn't go? James, why Ninjutsu? You non-conforming bastard.
No, you have to do it like an old Yenta. So what are you doing here?
Dude, I can't do that, but I'm glad that you can get your voice that high pitched. Take the leather strap off your testicle.
No, that was a grab and twist. Grab and twist.
Anyway, go ahead, James. Sorry.
I came at it from, I was in martial arts a while before that. I think I started probably around like 12, 13 years old. I came across it started like way back the first time when I was younger than that yet, when I seen the Karate Kid, and I was like, I want to do that, but like I live in the middle of nowhere, and they're like, well, you're never going to find that, and won't be able to afford it if you do find it.
How do you find the middle of nowhere? Sorry.
You find nowhere, and you go to the middle of it.
Yep. BFE. And I came upon a Taekwondo class at the local Y entirely by accident. I was supposed to be there for a basketball game for the school, and was bored with that because I don't really do sports. And I just started wandering around and found the basement of the Y where they were doing Taekwondo. And by that point, I was already doing like side jobs after school and stuff. So I was able to get involved in that. And I did that through probably for quite a while. It was more of a traditional style, but they did some self-defense kind of stuff. And I really like that part of it. And they had like self-defense techniques, so to speak, but they really pushed like the whole sparring side of it as like, the real test your skills kind of thing. So I delved deep into that while I was in it. And then I moved into like point sparring and started doing a lot of tournament kind of stuff. And at that point, I didn't really.
You have long fucking legs, man. You're perfectly suited for Taekwondo. Holy shit.
I did.
I bet you did really well.
I did.
Yeah,
I ended up with a closet full of trophies for a while. And, but you started to find the inconsistencies in things. And even in the small schools, I ended up finding a couple other ones that were local. But then it started to get into the typical martial arts politics things between schools and things like that. But I found out when I started going to tournaments that I hit a rank where like it was advanced, but there wasn't many people. So I would get bumped up into like a black belt level. But then when you go in and you're not a black belt, but you start beating black belts, nobody likes that. So they're like, you're not competing anymore. So I ended up switching.
So then it's not about skill proficiency, right? It's about what I am.
So I ended up switching to more of an Olympic style and a little bit of kickboxing and doing some of that. And eventually I ended up that was the first time at some point during a sparring match I blew my knee out. And I'm like, well, this doesn't go well for longevity in doing this. And
you blew your knee out in one of my classes.
What's that?
Well, you didn't do it. I said you blew your knee out in one of my classes. Of course, you didn't do it.
Well, I did do it because
yeah, pre-existing injury.
But at that point, I decided, and then I started looking at other things and realized that that point you'd start seeing some stuff of like CCTV footage of like things actually happening out in the street and things like that. And like, this doesn't add up to what they're saying self-defense is, because none of this looks the same. And so I started looking at other stuff and using the internet to do research and whatnot and other things. And that's when I came across Warrior Concepts at that point. And just like on a whim, and I think it had started with two of the DVDs. And I think that was back in like 2007, 2008 or something. I think we figured out. But I just reached out on a whim and came down and talked to you. And then it just went from there. Because I was like, I'm an hour, or at that point you were in Sunbury, so it was a little over an hour away. And I'm like, I really want to do this thing. And you were like, fantastic. When do you want to start? Then it just went from there.
One of my teachers said, Warriors make decisions. Let's go. What if it's the wrong one? Make another decision.
And I still remember one of the first classes I showed up at, because Shidoshi White was there and Shidoshi Paul was there. I mean, they weren't that at the time, but this was way back. And a couple of them, when I walked in, and so I had all this experience and walked into the part of the first class, and I remember going, holy shit, I know absolutely nothing. But, this is it though. Like I had back during the early times, I guess that I was partly one of those people that, like martial arts is my life kind of thing. I have all the magazines and stuff, and you'd like see the.
Well, you were in the middle of nowhere. You had to have something for your life.
Yeah. But you'd see some of the articles and the ads for the courses and stuff. And I'm like, that would be really cool, but that's like way across the United States or whatever. And, no way I'm going to make it over there. And just part of that mindset and everything at the time. And then just totally blown away when I found out it was like within an hour's drive. And
many people say they can't travel for training. They can't, whatever. I mean, and again, I'm going to sound like an old guy. My personal teacher, whoever it has been at the time, has never been closer to me than a 9-hour drive one way. John knows.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I remember getting pulled over at 3 o'clock in the morning in Ohio. Was it Mary that was driving?
It was Mary that was driving.
She got clocked at 103.
We just bought a new freaking car with a Nissan. I go to sleep. I wake up. We're being pulled over, right? And she goes, as I'm waking up before the lights come on, the last thing I remember her saying was, man, this thing's really smooth at 90.
We're doing a 2-car caravan, and I'm the second car back. She gets pulled over. They clocked her at 103. I fortunately saw the cop, being the chase vehicle. And I had slowed down, I think, to 85 when they clocked me. So I got a ticket too. But
before 65 and 70 mile an hour speed limits and stuff. So yeah, no. So one, people don't want to travel, right? And yet everybody that is significant or they look up to in this art had no choice, right? And two, the number of people, and again, John knows this, and Eric may as well. The number of people that have thought that we were frauds or whatever, because like if you're really a ninja teacher, what the hell are you doing in Sunbury or Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, this semi-rural area? Why aren't you in a big city? And I'm like, have you done any reading? Ninjutsu has been hard to get its entire history. Why the hell should I change it? Right? Which really irritates people because, people, it's funny. The number of people who make fun of McDojos but are waiting for a McNinja dojo to open up in their town so they can do drive-up window training because they don't want it to be inconvenient. One, you want to be a warrior, and two, you want to be a freaking ninjutsu but you don't want inconvenience? What the fuck is that? Talk about cognitive dissonance, right? So anyway, that's just me being an asshole, but that's okay. So, to me, it's okay.
I got a question for you really quick.
Okay, sure.
Before we run out of time, because we're about 10 minutes left or so.
We're going to run over, and you have to go, so I understand.
Well, no. I'm home. And Myra's in bed. I got to hear Victor's joke.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Victor has normal ninja jokes, and I'm going to open it up a little bit and soften it. But his jokes so far have sounded like ninja dad jokes. But
okay,
we'll let it go with that. Anyway, so I think we got through everybody on that one. So let's do this. Because we're a little bit behind on the prize spins and all that, let's do another spin, and let's do a big one on this one. Let's see. Let's give away let's just give away the one-on-one coaching call. So we'll end up scheduling a Zoom call, and we'll talk about your goals and all that wonderful stuff. And I promise, when the call is over, you will have next step training things to do, regardless of whether you and I ever train together ever again. Okay. Lee's been on free webinars. Do you know, Lee, are my webinars sales pitches? No.
You're not pitching, but they're absolutely chock full of valuable stuff.
All right. So one-on-one coaching call, I'll do up to an hour. So we're talking up to $250 value. Okay. So, Ninja God. And if it's somebody that already is in the Inner Circle program or whatever, we'll spin again.
Jimmy!
Yeah, Jimmy!
All right. Jimmy follows my stuff. Jimmy's always on KUDENs and Whiteboard Wednesdays and all that kind of stuff. And somehow he has time for like family and a job too. So, but see, there's somebody else that is all in on training and stuff. So I see his stuff. He's involved in Kung Fu and I've seen his Ninjutsu videos and stuff like that. So very, very cool. All right. Congratulations, Jimmy. Very cool. All right. Jimmy Ortiz. All right. And that's the one-on-one. Excellent. Very cool. All right. So the time we've all been waiting for, and John had to bring it up. It's ninja joke time. All right. So before we do this, I'm going to tell you a little story, right? If anybody knows Shidoshi Malmstrom, Bud Malmstrom, you would know that, one, Bud is a former Marine, okay, which means he has a potty mouth. Okay. Two, if you've ever had a chance to read Bud's book, it was a limited edition. I think it had 2 runs on it. It was called Warriorship, right? If you can find it, I don't give a shit if it's tattered. Find it and read it. Okay. I remember one time I hosted a seminar with Bud. I was stationed with the Army in West Germany, what was then West Germany, because I absolutely believed, and I had to figure all this shit out for myself, right? So I made phone calls. Hey, what would it take to get you here? And they told me, here's what I charge, airfare, hotel, feed me, whatever. Okay. Great. Okay. Figured out. Okay. Here's how many students I need at this tuition rate, whatever. I just break it even on stuff. Right. Okay. But the cool thing is, see, I'm in the military, right? Most people don't have that kind of freaking restriction, right? But I have to figure out time off. You only get so much paid leave time. You only get so much in the way of like passes, right? 2-day, 4-day, whatever. Lee knows. Lee's shaking his head, right? And it's mission dependent, right? You could have been approved for leave, and they can yank it right back under you or out from under you if the balloon goes up or something of an emergency nature happens, right? You just take it away, right? And so I could only make 1, maybe 2 major seminars a year where I traveled to the States, right? or wherever my teacher happened to be. I mean, I could get a 4-day pass if I lucked out and my friend Bryn Morgan was hosting Stephen Hayes in Liverpool, England, or whatever, right? So I decided I'm putting these things together. Anyway, so I remember having Bud in Germany, and it's between training. I think I brought him into town. The seminar is going to start the next day and whatnot. So we're on this walk, right? And we're just chatting, which is the other cool thing about hosting a seminar with your teacher. You have teachers like I had, which I model myself after. You're not just around them when the seminar is going on. You take them to eat. You got to take them to their hotel or wherever, you pick them up in the morning, airport, to and from. Okay. There's all kinds of extra time. What are you going to talk about? Well, if it's a good teacher, you don't just have idle chit chat. Everything's a fucking lesson. Everything. Right. So we're just chatting. Right. And you ever thought about writing a book? And he goes, no, but not to say that I haven't written one, but the mood hasn't struck me. But I don't know, if I ever wrote a book about Ninjutsu, it would be on philosophy, or it would be a joke book of all the jokes I've heard at ninja seminars, which is really freaking funny. Right. So anyway, but Warriorship is a book on philosophy. And he starts it off by describing himself as a Texas-born, Georgian-raised, 145 pounds of romp and stomp in hillbilly hell. And that's exactly what he is, right? And he's not everybody's cup of tea, because if you don't like really being critiqued from a warrior perspective, then don't go to Bud. Don't go to Ishizuka Sensei. Don't go to Manaka. Well, I don't know. Not Manaka, Nagato. He could be a little bit different these days or whatever, but I tend to seek out those instructors who are not going to go, well, that was good, try this, do it, right? The instructors I tend to gravitate toward are, what the hell was that? That is the worst Ichimonji I've ever seen. Fix it, or there's the damn door, right? If you're going to screw around, right, don't waste my time, okay? Don't waste my time, don't waste your time, go do something easy, right? Underwater basket weaving might be in your future. Whatever. Right? There's Lee. There's a seminar for you, Lee. Teach underwater basket weaving. So anyway, now I tell you that story because years later, right? John thinks it was in.
It was in Princeton. Yeah,
Princeton, for the Princeton Taikai in New Jersey, and Bud comes to me, and I find out he's been circulating among our group, and he goes, "You know any clean jokes?" I'm like, what? No. Clean jokes. You know any clean jokes? No. Well, I do, but they're not funny anymore. Right? They're for my kids. He goes, I know. Okay. Why do you need clean jokes? Why do you need clean jokes? And he goes, okay, so some asshole who's running this thing decided that they want to have a clean joke contest. And they decided that I, of all people, should MC this thing. Me. I said, you. He said, that's what I said. Right. So anyway, it was a clean joke. So Bud got in charge of emceeing a clean joke contest at a ninja seminar. And the joke that won, now won. But that's going to be mine. So anyway, but let's kick this session off, right? Because, well, Victor, why don't you share some of your quick ninja jokes that you've used? Like, what is an evil ninja drink? Whatever. Yeah. I'm going to turn this over to Victor for a second. And then anybody who has one, you can just kind of put your hand up and tell it. But I'm going to save the one that it's stuck in my brain. And it's stuck in my brain because that's me since they played off of it. Okay? So we'll leave that one for last. But, Victor?
Okay.
You got a joke or three? No, yeah. Never mind. Victor has a joke or three.
2 clean ones I'll give you. And
no, they don't. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so yeah, like you said about the evil ninjas. So you know what evil ninjas drink? Coca-Cola.
Okay, we're gonna start losing numbers here. People are falling asleep.
Wow.
With the good dirty one, the one that your daughter liked.
Yeah. I'm glad my daughter is old enough and she's in Georgetown and now works for NCIS, so she gets to see all kinds of things that I tried to shelter her from for a long time. But anyway.
Okay, so why hasn't Barbie ever gotten pregnant? Because Ken came in the box.
Oh.
Hey,
you got one more?
I don't get it.
It's a tough. He is a kid. Yes, he does.
He I get it now. Okay.
Take my wife, please.
Yeah, go ahead. You get one more.
I get one more? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. Okay. What kind of animal does a Buddhist monk use to unlock wisdom?
Oh no.
A monkey.
I'm here all week.
Try the veal.
Oh
shit. Alrighty then. Well, we had more fun laughing at you than with you. So anyway.
The feeling is mutual. I love you all.
John, you can't restrain yourself any longer. Go
ahead. Okay, how does a ninja fart? Silent but deadly.
Okay. That's See, you got some competition now, Victor.
Yeah.
Now here's one. Told this to my wife the other night. Guy's walking his horse down the road.
Which is why his wife is sleeping and not talking to him for days. Go ahead.
You think she talks to me? Wow. we're almost married 30 years. I don't get talk. No. Guy's walking his horse into the village, and all of a sudden the horse just falls over on the side of the road. Well, fortunately, he's right outside of the local medicine man's hut. And he walks over to the hut and he raps on the outside. He says, "Can you help me with my horse? I don't know what's wrong with it." And the guy goes, "Oh, I've got just the thing." And he goes into his hut and comes back out. "Put your hands out." He puts his hands out and he drops 2 little sachets in each hand. And he goes, "Okay, now go over to your horse. You're going to lift up its tail and you're going to take one of those and you're going to push it up in as far as you can and stand back." And the guy goes, "You're sure about this?" "Yeah, trust me. It works." So he goes over, he lifts the horse's tail and he takes it and he shoves up as far as he can. The horse is laying there. Suddenly, its eyes open, its ears perk up, it stands up, and it takes off like a thunderbolt down the road. And the guy's looking, he goes, "But what's the second one for?" He says, "Well, don't you want to catch up with it?"
Yeesh. Eric doesn't get that.
Did somebody say butt?
Lightweight.
Shit. All right, Eric, you got one?
I don't really have like a ninja joke, but I do have kind of a funny story.
Well, you can tell a joke. We'll just write it off the jokes told at a ninja event.
Yeah, well, it's just a recollection of when we traveled to Japan the first time I went with you, and just learning about sort of Japanese culture over there, and just kind of an amusing moment was we had gone to training was kind of like I guess be equivalent to like a YMCA or some kind of gym type.
Oh yeah, the Taikukan with Shuri Sensei.
Yes, and so we had completed training, and of course, Shiraishi Sensei wanted to give us a ride back to the train station. Like, "Oh, you've walked so far, I'll give you a ride in my car." So he could only fit.
People crying that trip because we walked so much.
And he could only fit like 3 people in this little car at a time, and there's like 8 of us, So he gives Mr. Whistler, Mr. Beck, and myself a ride to the train station first. I don't know why we got
shuttle
picked
people
to go
back and
first,
forth.
but we went first. So he drops us at the train station, and it's maybe another 10 minutes that he's going to go back and pick up the rest of the group. Well, we're just waiting there outside the train station by the road, and this extremely drunk Japanese man, probably in his early 60s, just saunters up and just starts speaking.
I remember that this event was still going on when our group got brought in.
Yeah. I mean, he just starts
He
speaking
made friends
like
with
drunken Japanese, and of course, we're like trying to like understand, because like we've been trying to work on speaking a little Japanese, like what's he saying, and we can't figure it out because of course he's had a lot to drink, and he just kind of grabs Mr. Beck arm in arm and starts walking off towards the train station with him, and of course Mr. Whistler and myself are like, well, what do we do? This guy's walking away with Mr. Beck. And we both kind of look at each other and go, he's a black belt. He can handle himself, right? I think I had a green belt at that time. And
yeah, I think so.
So, it's like, well, he's senior. He's fine. He'll be all right. And they keep going towards the train station. And then they make a right down like a dark corner where we can't see. And then we're kind of like, should we do something? And we just kind of wait for a few minutes. And then they come back out, and Mr. Beck's got an armload of Japanese beer that the drunk businessman bought from the vending machine right there. He wanted to drink with us. He's like, hey, he gives us all beer. We start drinking. He's like, yay. So we're drinking, and that's about the time. Yeah, you, Mr. Miller, show up and like, here's my students drinking with some random Japanese guy. What is going on? What's going on?
That's called diplomacy.
And then he just wandered off to catch his train. I was like,
off and got
that
his
was
train
the greatest thing ever.
With beer.
Yeah, and then I found it quite amusing that you sort of explained to us, like, yeah, he'll probably brag about that to his buddies about how nice he was to the random Americans he found. Yeah, just
that reminds me of the time that I took you. Well, it was the same trip, but we went to Nijo Castle, and I always have you guys pack uniforms, and we went back to this one corner and stuff because we do photo shoots and stuff, and we got changed, and we were climbing the walls and stuff. Remember? And this group of like 20 somethings come around the corner like, oh, ninja, right? And they're doing the freaking Naruto kind of stuff and whatever. And remember that they were passing the camera around and taking pictures with us. They completely blew over the fact that we're Occidental and not Asian, right? And to them, as far as they were concerned, we were ninja, and we're all posing and stuff. And they were as freaking giddy and they were mostly guys, and they were as giddy as little freaking schoolgirls. It was hilarious. They were, thank you.
It really spoke to like what that whole ninjutsu and their culture it kind of is at today with just the general culture.
Yeah.
Because we also walking up Tagakure, the lower shrines. There were plenty of
older
other
folks
Japanese
walking
folks
by and making a mudra and just going, oh, gambate,
Yeah.
Ninja,
really cool.
Bowing and smiling at us and just keep walking.
But thank God for Pete that the guy didn't want to rob him because we were just going to leave him to his own devices.
Well, Pete's from Shamokin, so like an armful of beer.
Yeah.
Touchdown.
He's up for it.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh, cool. All right. Anybody else? All right, I'll tell a quick one here. All right, well, I don't know. It's going to be quick. So back to the clean joke contest, right? Here's the one that won. So I'm going to tell you the joke, and I'm going to tell you what Hatsumi Sensei said during closing remarks at the dinner the next night. So there's this old couple, been married for 50 years, coming up on their 50th anniversary. And she says, now you remember what you said during our honeymoon, right? But what we could do if we made it to 50 years here, I already got it planned. It's okay. The hotel still exists. So I made reservation. She's so excited, right? Well, they get there. First night, they're exhausted. So they just go straight to bed, right? Next morning, they wake up and she leans over. She gives him a kiss on the cheek. And she says, you remember you said everything we did on our honeymoon, we could do. And I got it planned. Already ordered room service, right? Next thing you know, there's a knock on the door. They wheel the stuff in. They get up. She goes, he goes, I'm going to take it out on the terrace. I'll set the table, no problem, right? Everything we did on our honeymoon, I got it, right? So sets up the table. He sits down, starts reading his paper, and she goes, He said, what? Breakfast is here. We had breakfast on the terrace. Yes, on the terrace. We had breakfast naked on. Oh, come on, everything. She said, you said. So he takes his robe off and he sits back down and he's reading his paper again. And she leans over the table and she says, honey, I know it's been 50 years, but seeing you sitting there like that just makes my nipples hot. He puts down his paper. He looks at her and he says, of course they're hot. One's in your tea and one's in your oatmeal. So this is the one that won a clean joke contest at a ninja seminar, right? Fast forward. The next night, we got this closing reception. There's Hatsumi Sensei closing remarks. He finishes his speech by saying, it was nice training with everyone. Now I'm going back to Japan, and I'm going to have breakfast with Mrs. Hatsumi in the morning. And we're going to have tea and oatmeal.
I look at it this way. At least Bud didn't do his usual fallback joke, and I'm only going to give the punchline. The long drive back from the desert.
Oh man. Dark jokes we used to tell. Absolutely. What are you crying about? I got to walk back out of here alone. Yep, you bet. Anyway, let's do another spin. James, you all set? Let's do. My pen keeps bouncing. Let's get a different pen. There we go. So, what did I land on? That landed on the Module 1 Foundations course, right? So, let's see. This one's at the moment valued at $397. Price is going to go up here pretty soon, but it is a 16-week. It was originally done as a 16-week live program. Now it's a do-it-yourself, but it has extra coaching with it, all that kind of stuff. There's this one actually includes for the 16 weeks while you're in it. There is a Tuesday evening coaching call with my inner circle guys. Tuesday night 8 p.m. unless the Friday morning 10 a.m. works better for your time zone. But it's on audio, right? So we're on phone. That kind of bridge kind of thing. You can listen through your device. You don't need to make a phone call or whatever. And we can interact, questions get answered. I normally teach extra topics above and beyond. And then it also includes the same thing that's in the Ninpo Masterclass. So you get the two, no, I'm sorry, it does not. I apologize. There's an extra class on Mondays live from our dojo where it's a basic intermediate class. And you get to ask questions and have things reviewed and stuff like that, right? Do I have that right, James? It's the Monday Q&A class, right? Okay, all right. So there's that. I forgot because a lot of people that are going through the course are actually going through Ninpo Master class at the same time. So I see faces a lot, except for Victor, who's jumped ship. Anyway, I know. Blame the job, blame the wife, whatever. So the Foundations of Ninja Self-Defense course are Module 1. Kind of thing. So let's do it. Oh, you got to spin again because he's already Shinobi Kai member. So. Hey, Chris, I hope that you got all warm and fuzzy because you got the digital confetti, but you don't qualify. James 681. Sounds like a porn a name on a porn site.
No, that's usually the street you grew up on and your first pet's name.
Oh, sorry.
You mean his pet was named Juan?
Juan. I don't think Rosemont Toby's going to sell.
Hey, now I have a semi-serious question here.
Okay.
I'm looking for a subject to do my breakout session for spring camp, and I have something considered, but I'm wondering what anybody is interested in seeing because I will gladly take suggestions or completely ignore them.
So if it doesn't matter. Well, we've got virtual, we've got live. Who knows, right? You could end up just getting the videos later or whatever. But if there's something you'd like to see taught on, a specialty topic or whatever, then type something in the comments.
I'm open to suggestion.
James will pass it on. Yeah,
Mr. Golan.
John has an extra satchel or a little sachet, so he's He's open for anything, and he's going to catch up with his horse. Right? All right. So who got that one? James.
No, but if any of you guys have an idea for anything, or otherwise, I will gladly take suggestions.
Awesome. Did he? Sorry, James. Did he put his hand up? Is he still on?
I haven't seen anything.
All right, we'll give him another 30 seconds. Otherwise, we're going to spin again. I understand. People have early bedtimes, right? The plight of the geriatric.
Mr. Golan.
Yes.
Two things that are really good this time of year are foraging and meteorology.
Okay.
You mean like
just to give you an idea? Say again? Yes, Tenmon.
Tenmon?
Yes.
Reading
because the changing of the seasons, and then of course foraging is springtime anyway.
Well, I usually have an hour, so I can actually cover several things. I was also considering fire building.
Awesome.
This time I'll even do it outside.
Usually a good idea.
Chris McLaurin threw out ninja climbing.
Okay.
Climbing. How do you climb a ninja?
Well, considering part of my
time.
Part of my history, for those of you who don't know, I was a freestyle climber for over a decade. So
you're free. It's in the Constitution. All right. Let's see. Did that? Okay. Yeah. So this would normally be time for Q&A. We ran way over. So anybody have any questions in? We'll take a question or three. No more than that. We were going to split this into different times, but we are under the gun at this point. So, James, any questions or comments come in? Not about John's.
John Price asked, "Why did the chicken cross the road?"
I don't know, John Price. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Because he didn't see the ninja.
Oh, John, you should have been on the panel. That would have rivaled Victor and never mind. Anyway, because you didn't see the ninja. Wow. All right.
How do you know you met a ninja?
I don't know. How do you know you met a ninja?
The Grim Reaper tells you.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. I don't know. Most of the ninja jokes I know are just jokes I heard at ninja seminars, and I promise you, the ones that are the most memorable were in the early 80s when we had no sensitivities, and they are now, they probably get us like banned from YouTube and Facebook and everybody else, everywhere else. Well, not Twitter. Twitter and X is okay these days, so they actually have a sense of humor. Anyway, okay, so I have one more question for my panel while we're waiting for any questions to pop in. So this question is, and actually you can pick either or, okay? One, well, actually we'll just do this one, right? I'm going to nix this one here. So most significant quote or lesson that stands out to you right now in your training history, like the one that just keeps popping up, the one that, and I'll share mine, okay, first, right? So again, it's a Shidoshi Malmstrom thing, and this probably significant because it was at a real turning point in my life. I'm sure that some people can relate where you're trying to grow beyond what you've been told you are, who you believe you are, what you believe your lot in life is, what you believe you're saddled with, all that kind of stuff. You may even realize that there are habit patterns. Maybe you don't realize that there are habit patterns that you keep falling into, and you may or may not know that those habit patterns are the very things that are holding you back. Okay. And so this is another one of those seminars that I hosted with Shidoshi Malmstrom, bring him in, and he got a chance to talk to me, listen to me talk and whatnot. And he probably wasn't just teaching to me. But if you know what I'm talking about, sometimes a lesson hits hard and you swear to God they're talking to you, and it's not just a general lesson. They just tried to hide it in a group. But either way, it was just a lesson. That's what I found out later, right? But it sure felt at that moment like he was targeting me. And so he was talking about ninja making decisions and not being trapped and things like that. And the point of the lesson was that if you have a situation that you don't like, you have a situation that's not working for you, you have a situation that is painful, you have 3 options. Option 1, get out of it, escape to safety. Option 2, change it. Okay. If it involves somebody else, right, that may require that you have a discussion with that person, you negotiate, whatever, right? Well, but what if you can't get the other person to agree that changes need to be made? Refer back to option 1. Okay. So option 1, get out of it. Option 2, change it. Option 3, accept it, right? Do whatever you need to, reframe it, whatever, so that you can work with it. Okay. But if above everything else, stop bitching about it. Because when you do that, when you complain, when you bitch, when you talk about it in a negative light, what you're doing is reminding yourself or convincing yourself and the universe that you are a victim. That. There's a bunch of other ones, but that's the one that stands out at the moment. Right? And I've had people, James knows, right? There was a point where I was binge producing YouTube shorts. We had hundreds of thousands of views, right? I was just trying to cross a certain threshold to get a certain benefit from YouTube, right? But what I ended up getting, this where the haters come out and all that kind of stuff, just, whatever. But I also had people that would send me a message or post a comment that said, man, you get kudos from me just from tolerating all this stuff. I mean, nobody else would tolerate stuff to that extent. I mean, wow, right? I'm on a mission. I don't have time for that. And here's the thing. When you stand out, when you do things, when you rise above, and this is not just strangers. This can be family members. This can be friends, whatever. Okay. When you make changes, when you increase your own personal power, the tigers, the dragons, and the monsters will come out of the woodwork. And while they look scary, they come out because they need to put you back in your cage. And you need to make a decision. Was 200 episodes easy? Hell no. Was it always easy to carve out this kind of time with all the other programs and all the other stuff that we're doing, right? Before, during, after. James, easy? No, not always easy. Okay? But I made a commitment. Not to being the number one podcast, not to having 200 episodes. I made a commitment that once I started this, people would come to rely on these lessons. And it was another avenue because my teachers told me this back in the day, and I tell my students all the time, you need to come to seminars. You need to do these other things because an hour or an hour and a half class is not enough time to teach everything that could be taught, everything that's involved in this art. So in Mikyo, part of this one program that's coming up, this Goshinbo, kind of a Mikyo light kind of program, one of them is one of the practices is donning the Diamond Thunderbolt armor. And developing these skills and developing these mindsets and things like that is like putting on armor. Right? And here's a mindset from the warrior. Okay. And this is I got this from Hatsumi Sensei, but these were lessons from Takamatsu Sensei. One of the lessons from Takamatsu Sensei is that nobody in their right mind would choose to be a warrior. To be up at 4 a.m. in chafing armor, in the cold, in dew-soaked grass, doing repetitious training, while everybody else is still in bed spooning with their honey. But somebody has to do it. And I have the willingness and the skills to do it. And that goes for all the shit that I take by standing out as an influential teacher who's trying to help as many people as possible before I leave this mortal plane. And at 61, I don't know how much time I have left. So, 1, stop bitching. 2, you have 3 options in every problem. Pick one. And 3, decide whether or not you're going to be one of the ones who choose to do what nobody else will fucking do. That's it. That's mine. Who's next?
I'll go because I'm at the limits of my battery. See if I last here.
Your battery or your phone's battery?
Not my phone's battery. Yeah.
Shit, we got AI on and I didn't even know it. All right, sorry, go ahead.
But I would say for me, it's been Sanmitsu. Like that's really been something that's kind of carried through in all the things I've done just through career and having picked that up and kind of studied that and learned that, but as a basis of just, you know, how important it is to have a vision and then speak on it and then put it into action. And that process, you know, going back to like the Goma and getting to Japan the first time, like that really kind of opened my eyes to the whole process of it and how, you know, that's a workable thing, whether it's, you know, something, you know, small or big. But I've just seen that to be something that really has been a lesson that's continued to carry through in all the things I've done, whether it's career or, you know, what I'm doing as a hobby now and all those things, that it just, you can put that into motion and make things happen. Just like poof, that's what people think. Oh, it just happened.
Awesome. Well, before you go, and I'm sorry if we lost John, but apparently he's been drinking the whole time. So I was going to give people a choice of like sake or beer, but I'm going to open my Sapporo. So everybody that's still on, please join me and everybody else before we run out of time here. What do you have? What's Lee have? Lee, what do you have?
Tullamore Dew.
Oh, man, I'm out of mine. I got to replace it. That and a good cigar, and I'm a happy camper. Anyway, all right. So 200 episodes. Thank you to everyone, my guests, everyone who's stuck with it. I mean, we're at the what time? We're at the 2.5 hour point, right? So people are gonna have to take this in bits and pieces, right? Here's to 200 more. What do you say? Fantastic.
Kanpai.
Kanpai.
All right, awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Eric. Who else has one?
No, it's
Lee,
okay.
You got one? And if you don't want to tell me that one, what was the backup that I scratched out? Most painful moment in training. We'll leave that one for another episode.
Well, I can do a small most painful moment while I'm doing the significant lesson, which is a significant lesson. Oddly enough, it's when you start doing ninjutsu, especially when you're younger, a lot of the pathways are more free, and but some of them blocked up. And so when you get to doing certain things, you'll get to a technique, and you can't do it. But you've done the technique 100 million times before, but for some reason now you can't. And I remember breaking down into tears in my teacher's arms because for no good reason, because that day I was doing a technique and it was okay. It just wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I was just like, the floodgates opened up. Yes, release the Kraken, Dave. That was pretty much what that was. Then everybody became stone. I don't know why. But anyway, the biggest lesson, which actually reflects, Sensei, your initial start of it, was the freedom. I've always said that ninjutsu thrived in America because it is based upon continuing to have freedom regardless of what suppression or oppression is around and about. Because back in the Edo period and Sengoku Jidai period, they were like, oppression was the norm. And yet these people continue to keep their freedom no matter what. And
we're willing to die before giving up both the freedom and the secrets.
Yeah. So I just, I see it around the world now, but now even America is the the proposer of freedom around the world, I guess. But that's my biggest lesson. I guess it's also my biggest draw, is that when you've got choices, you've got freedom. So, and knowing your choice and taking it, and then warriors make decisions. So just because you have a choice doesn't mean everything's good. You have to make one of those choices. You have to make that decision. You have to take your step.
And it's not that those choices are going to be easy as soon as you make the choice. That choice may create more hardship that you've got to get through. I've got this piece of artwork that's in my dojo. It's calligraphy that I found in a thrift store in Japan, of all places. Saw these two kanji, and one, you ever been walking along, you see a nin symbol and you just like jumps out at you. You know what I'm talking about, right? And so that's what jumped out, but I didn't know what the other kanji was. So I take it up to the storekeeper and they go, "Oh, nin nin." No, I know what this one is. What's this one? Nin. No, not this one. This one, right? And so like two completely different kanji that have the same pronunciation, and they both mean to endure or to persevere. And I'm like, wait, whoa, right? Well, this is one of those pieces of artwork where kanji are placed together, but you've got to extrapolate the meaning. You remember me talking about this during a seminar, I bet, right? And what the meaning of the artwork is that you have to be able to endure the hardship of enduring. Perseverance is fucking hard. But if you can't endure the hardship of persevering, you're never going to make it. Where are my little statistics right here? Right? Made it to 200. Holy shit. Right? So there's another one that one of my students long time ago graduated from college, went off to Japan, still lives there. I'd touch base with him every once in a while, but he learned calligraphy, and then he sent me this gift. It was 3 kanji. It was in this style, right? It's 3 kanji that do not form a sentence, but the nin is there, right? There's 2 other kanji, and I'm not going to spell it out because then it'll just kind of give it away. But I had to look at this and understand it. But these 3 kanji go together to mean without perseverance, without the ability to persevere and endure, all that's left is disgrace. There's the kanji for endurance, perseverance. There's a kanji for mu, which means to lack or to be without. And there's the kanji for disgrace. Okay? To lack the ability to persevere leaves nothing but disgrace. But you have to remember, that's just a Japanese way of looking at things, right? I mean, we're Americans and Westerners. We don't, if we don't have something or we give up and we quit, we don't feel disgraced. we don't feel like we've lost face, right? It's just something that everybody does. Well, at least I tried. Yeah, no, this comes from a society that was built on this warrior ideal. And while the Japanese would say that the samurai warrior ideal doesn't exist anymore, every time I go to Japan, I see it everywhere. On corporate lapel pins, to the way a high man dresses as opposed to the low man dresses. As a matter of fact, on trains, I will point two people out that are from the same company, dressed really, really close together, really close, and I'll say, which one's the high man, which one's the low man? You can't see that, right? Because sometimes freedom is too much, right? Nurses and doctors used to wear uniforms. Nurses used to wear uniforms. Now everybody's in scrubs. They all look like they went to work in their fucking pajamas. Everybody needs to be relaxed. Everybody needs to be comfortable. Or do you just want to do whatever the fuck you want? Which one is it? I want to try just enough to not get fired. Interesting, huh? Just a thought. I'm probably just another dumb American. I don't think we should do everything the Japanese do either, because you have no individual or individuality. But if we could take the best of both of these societies and put them together, holy shit.
That's why I liked finding ninjutsu concepts or Japanese concepts in the Western philosophies. You've seen me post them. Where, yeah,
you and I share things. I used to post all that stuff, and you were posting Stoicism things, and you're like, "Oh, the Stoics." So I look at that stuff, of course, because wisdom is wisdom, regardless of what name you put on it. Truth is truth, regardless. Yeah, it's not branded. Okay. So, anyway, let's see, James. I'm gonna make you talk one way or the other. Who got hurt so that you could smile and clap? No, I'm just kidding.
I think for me, actually along the same lines, is the big thing that I always seem to go back to is the whole idea that warriors take action and warriors make decisions. If nothing else, there's always that. Which one you need to do something to do that. Even it could be, even an inaction at the time because that's what's needed, but it still takes a decision to do that and constantly doing that so things move forward and not getting stuck just where you don't want to make a decision because you don't want to be wrong or whatever. But if you are, then
that's a big problem, right? The fear of being wrong, the fear of what other people will say creates inactivity, right? Mm-hmm. People used to say that there's all these fears: the fear of heights, the fear of this, that. Another thing that a teacher said to me a long time ago was that he actually believed that the biggest fear that immobilize people is the fear of being afraid. They don't like to experience that. But we have to be able to operate under those conditions because fear is an adrenal response. It's energy in motion. All emotions are energy in motion. Hatsumi Sensei has taught the difference between like nervousness and what we normally experience is like the adrenal, anxious nervousness kind of thing, and Budo nerves. But Budo nerves is a physiological response, right? If you allow yourself to be in that state long enough, the system adjusts to it. What people do is they panic and jump out as the system is trying to adjust to that altered state. And they never get there. They never get to that level of clarity, right? Part of training is when the bad guy's coming and whatnot, the reason we maintain distance and use kamae and uke nagashi and whatnot to clear, right? It's not as pristine as just the kata, right? You maintain that distance because you need that extra second or three. And the more you do it, the faster your body adjusts. But you need that time to let the Budo nerves kick in, right? If you've ever been in a situation like that where you couldn't get out, at a certain point, the body is buzzing and things are going on, but you acclimate and you can operate again. But in that moment where the amygdala triggers the hypothalamus, it drops a shit ton of endorphins, epinephrine, all kinds of shit into your system, and the cells get shocked by that and have to go into that new state, right? That's what throws people off. But part of warriorship training, if done correctly, allows for that adjustment, right? And people that can operate under that, soldiers and cops and whatever, right? Firefighters, EMTs, warriors, right? You just get used to the process. You get used to the change. But by always doing soft training, by avoiding it, right? By its very nature, right? This requires hard times. Anyway, so I didn't mean to cut you off again, but what else? Anything else?
No, that's just the big thing that sticks out to me, I think, more often than anything is that, and because I make bad life decisions, so for anybody, there's the joke side of that.
It's an inside joke from a previous camp. We had somebody in doing ground fighting and stuff, and every time he'd lock James up, he'd go, "Bad life choices." just funny. Sorry. Anyway, Victor, you're up. You got one? Most significant quote or lesson from training. From training. I don't want to hear about your hanging out with your fellow student who owned a porn shop.
You want me to talk about Whisper Alley?
Excuse your face? No, what? I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, you want to know about that.
Jesus. Come on, man.
So, okay, so my biggest thing is my probably biggest lesson is commitment and hesitation. I'm in a process of self-polishing, and what I want to do is eliminate my hesitation. And I'm looking at, not only, in martial arts or, but in general, taking advantage of opportunities that arise without second guessing yourself. And I see that, I see that a lot in, when we train. So when I teach like sword work, right? So a lot of people tend to hesitate when they cut. They won't cut to cut right through that person. They hesitate in that last second. I go like, stop hesitating. You have to commit. You have to go. You don't have to hurt the person, but you have to commit with your cut. You have to commit with your strike. You have to commit. Yeah.
If you're gonna go.
Yeah, and polish out that hesitation. It will make you a better person and make you a better martial artist. So hopefully in 20 years, I'll be good.
Fair enough. Yeah. When I I teach meditation, I teach different forms of it, right? So you've got Zen, you've got Vipassana, which is Zen is stopping, right? It's shamatha, right? Stopping, suspension, that kind of thing. Vipassana is following insight-based stuff, and then there's the type of meditation, the visualization meditation we do in Mikyo. So I relate that to combat, but it's for anything, right? So, but it's really about ranges. So visualization meditation, it's not something you want to be doing in range, if you know what I'm saying, right? That's for one way of looking at it in Mikyo is creating alternate possibilities, right? Or alternate realities. Because the cool thing about your subconscious mind is it doesn't need to see it out there. It doesn't matter if it sees it out there or it sees it in here. All it requires is for you to say, yes, that's real. Next thing you know, you've got a new pattern, right? Mm-hmm. So that's for distance. You're nowhere near the combat stuff. This is what really pisses me off about students who vacillate or think that they need a training partner, or it's a crutch for inactivity. I can't train and I'm a training partner. Really? You can't do anything in this art. Okay? One of the first skills I was taught as a long distance student was visualization. You learn a technique, close your eyes, visualize the person coming at you. You can be standing, sitting, kneeling, facing Mecca. I don't give a shit, right? But if you're standing, then you can use your body with it, but you visualize them coming in, you visualize yourself doing the technique correctly, you can act it out with your body, whatever. Sports science has proven that this freaking works, right? To get it into muscle memory, because, right? You could do it sitting, you could do it moving, whatever, okay? But that's for way out of range. You're nowhere near the battlefield, okay? And then Vipassana, insight following observation meditation, is for when you're outside the kukan and you're not close enough to it. He's 2 or 3 steps away from even being able to launch something. And I don't want to waste that time. So now I am paying attention, how he moves, what he's doing or whatever. I have time to think and I can process and do that. It's analytical kind of thinking. I want to pay attention to what's going on. But the closer I get to the kukan, or the closer I get to that one step to him attacking, I need to quiet my mind and be able to go to Zen mind, because it's all experiential. I have to be in the moment. If I'm thinking, if I'm talking to myself, whatever, I'm going to get my ass handed to me. Minimum, right? So all this stuff is in the training. Just because the teacher doesn't point it out this way, Hatsumi Sensei uses different analogies. He'll reference this book, he'll reference that person's writing, he'll reference this science or whatever. And people stand in class and go and nod like, oh yes, I understand. Yeah, you understand the words that are coming out of the translator's mouth. But are you going to write that down and go check that thing out? Or are you going to, right? Or what does modern science pointed out? Because again, people are, if it's not traditional, if it's not Japanese, I'm not following it or whatever, right? Well, you know what? I firmly believe that the masters of the old days, if they had access to computers and shit like that, they wouldn't have handwritten all the scrolls. Okay? I just sent out an email today that discusses this. I was talking, we were doing Hanbo. As a matter of fact, I just recorded a lesson for the Mod 2 people in the personal development realm that is about Hanbo and how Hanbo in today's world is backwards from traditional, okay? Because in the old days, it was a what-if weapon, because most people were carrying around long poles and spear and all that kind of stuff. So this is what if your shit gets broken or gets cut in half. And now for an instant, you need to use this, because nobody in their right fucking mind is going to take a 3-foot stick onto a battlefield with 36-inch razor blades and longer, right? Who the hell's going to do that? Well, okay, that's somebody that misunderstands the way things work, okay? But in today's world, you're more likely to find something that size laying around than you are, unless you're in a pool hall, unless you're in a shed or you're in your garden or whatever. You're not finding longer pieces of things just laying around, right? So it's backwards. And so the title of the email that went out, just in case you're on my email list, and if not, why the hell not? Anyway, no, the one that went out is when traditional. What's that?
Sorry, I'm reading it.
Okay. What is it?
When traditional was modern.
When traditional was modern. Because when they were doing it, it wasn't traditional. That was the modern shit. It was the technology of the day. So to choose to do traditional over modern is to choose, basically, I'm going to choose the caveman stuff over modern technology. That doesn't mean that you can't learn from it. It doesn't mean you don't learn the skills or whatever, but you have to put them into context for a 21st century Western, or wherever you happen to live, world. Because back in the day, the stuff that we all see as historical and traditional was the modern technology.
Well, you think
about the piece about perspective, then you're choosing to cripple yourself. Which, sorry, that's fucking stupid. Anyway, sorry, Lee, go ahead.
I apologize. I was thinking about the, ninjas being the first persons to invent the pepper spray, like that. It was modern for them.
Cannons? Absolutely.
Yeah. Like the stuff that you want to talk about.
They invented landmines, all kinds of shit.
Yep. portable boats. They were cutting edge.
Where the samurai was everything about what dad and grandpa and great grandpa and whatever, you keep preserving that. The ninja is a counterculture. Anything that could allow me to produce results better, faster, easier, more smoothly and whatnot, sign me up, right? But that didn't make them all out progressives where everything else was wrong, because they still had family traditions and all that kind of stuff to follow. Because if it's working, don't screw with it. They didn't just go get shit and replace it, or want the entire world torn down or burned down just because we think it should be. Right? If it's working, fantastic. Right? If we can do it better, how? But if doing it better causes us to have to expend way more energy, right? Way more time, way more. No. Right? So we can see that in our taijutsu. We can see it in everything. It's about efficiency, not just effectiveness, but also efficiency, right? Because that's going to be necessary. One of the things that drew me to this art was the fact that as a ninja gets older, they get better. Even though their body's breaking down, arthritis and stiffness and all that kind of stuff, as you age, timing, distancing, and angling, and those kind of things get better. So what you're really learning how to do is how to do more with less. Because otherwise you're not going to be able to take on a 20-something with six-pack abs and all that kind of stuff at 70. Unless you work 3 times as hard as they do to keep up that physicality. Right? But who says you had to? Okay? Everybody's trying to win at the same game, even though nature's against you. Right? So it's like these TV shows and stuff where they're pitting this guy against that guy and the Spartan against the ninja and all that kind of stuff. And then they play that little reenactment at the end, right? Where they're going to have a one-on-one frickin' fight. Like this makes no sense. Because the way this works is the ninja sneaks into the Spartan's camp the day before, poisons their water supply. There's no fucking fight tomorrow because they're all dead. People are trying. That's what I meant early on in the episode. We were talking about people trying to get this to conform to normal fighter standards, and ninja don't. Not only do they not act that way, they don't think that way. Right? And that's why we cross-train. Ninjutsu was the original mixed martial art. If this guy's a puncher kicker, I'm going grappling. If this guy's has whatever, right? If he's got me and James, I know I demonstrate all these techniques for the video and stuff, but if it's James and he's got that reach, I'm going to get furniture between me and James. Okay? He doesn't have the same kind of reach if he's going to slam his shin into something that's going to break it. Right? Or because he's tall, I'm going to go lower. Right? It just there's way too much to conform this to just I just need to be trickier than the other guy. Be trickier than a bullet. Right? So anyway, anybody else? I know Eric lost his battery. I don't know what happened to John. I appreciate everybody being on. Victor, anything else?
Negative. That's basically it.
Okay. Well, guys, I really appreciate you being a part of this as guest host, just adding to the value for everybody. For everybody that's stuck with it for how much time? I mean, I know we're 3 minutes away from 3 hours. Yeah. So this is the longest episode by far. James, as always, I couldn't do what I do without your help. You know that, and I'm sure you'll come back and blackmail me at some point, and then I will have to explain what the hell happened to James because he's not on anymore. So no, it's done. Don't take that the wrong way today. It's all good. All right. Anyway, for everybody, I thank you. We're going to do one more spin because we still need to give away the ticket to spring camp. I think that's it. We give away the ticket to spring camp. Okay, $280 value. if you can't make it to spring camp, I don't know, I'll let you hold it until fall, but I'm not pissing around because procrastination is a crutch for most people, right? What procrastination is when somebody says, I can't this time, but next time I can't this camp, or I can't go to Japan with you this year, I'm going to go next year or whatever, right? I know that they believe what they're saying, but science has already proven that the benefit of doing that is not in giving yourself more time to get your ducks in a row. What it does is it creates a mental relaxation, because now you don't have to think about that for a long time. And then next year or next camp or whatever will roll around and you'll be in the same kind of position because you did not strategically and tactically put things together. You didn't start, and you didn't need more time. What you needed was more time to not think about this because it's causing a stress. Cognitive dissonance means that your mind cannot hold two opposing thoughts at the same time. And so what you have to do is drop one. And the human system tends to drop the one that's causing the most irritation or aggravation. Okay. So Seishin Teki, personal clarity, personal development, these are the kind of lessons that are in there, because the more you understand how the human system, you operate, the better choices and decisions you can make. But if you're swimming upstream, hoping for the best, right, with ropes attached to your ass and cinder blocks attached to them, and you're not going anywhere. You're just going to do what everybody else does. That other 97%. They may do it for a while. They may do it for 3 classes. They may do it for 10 classes. They may do it for 20 classes, but they're going to quit because they don't tolerate the aggravation of perseverance. But here's the question. If you don't do it, what changes? Nothing. And the biggest problem for Western students is that even the most poor, and I don't mean homeless and all that kind of stuff, but there's social services and all that, they live a state of comfort. What most people on welfare in this country don't realize is that the poor around the world, the other 90% of the planet that's actually poor, they see you as rich. Because okay, comfort is the destroyer of success. If you're comfort, you don't have to. It stays in the realm of, that'd be nice. So here's the question. Are you interested in doing this, or are you committed? See, I had a point in my training where I no longer felt like I had a choice, because I knew what I'd go back to, and I knew what normal was. And I have a serious Peter Pan syndrome. I'm not growing up, and I'm not going to be normal. So it's either be a vampire or be a ninja. Ta-da! I can't be a vampire, so here I am. All right. Anyway, all right. So James, let's do the spin on the spring camp for anybody that's still on. And well, man, look at that. Segments are bigger because there's less names. Nick Carapacis, what the hell's he doing on? No. Hey, yeah, Nick, if you can make it to camp, I'd love for you to teach a breakout session. That's how I get people to do breakout sessions. And you get to pick the topic. No, seriously, that'd be awesome. Is Nick still on? Nick needs to put his hand up. Is he still here? Nick.
Want me to call him?
What's that?
Want me to call him?
No, if he's not on, he can't win. No, cheater. Look at you. Helping a brother out.
New Yorkers, we stick like glue.
I don't need to know what you stick like. You did say stick, not stink, right?
Same thing.
Okay.
Boogers is good enough.
Oh my God. Is he still on? Did he say anything?
He hasn't said anything.
We'll give him another 30 seconds. All right. So quick reminder for everybody. One, thank you everybody for making it for this one. Two, spring camp, April 26th, 27th, and 28th. Right. The theme for this one is the elements of mastery. So we're going to be looking at fundamentally Kihon no Kihon, which means the fundamentals of the fundamentals. Okay. So I've got a lot planned. I teach about half of the camp. I cover the morning sessions and things like that, but I have guest instructors that cover breakout sessions during the afternoon, which means that we all end up learning from each other. So it's a cool thing, right? Victor and James and Lee and John and who else was? Oh, Eric, right? My gift to you is I would love for you to come to spring camp on me. You can't sit on me or hang out on me. You get here. Don't worry about tuition. Okay. So that's my thank you gift for you helping out with the thing. James, I'll do something else for you because you work hard for the training you do get. So I'll come up with something else. But for everybody else, if you can make it, I'd love for you to come in as my guest. Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Not a problem. Not a problem. All right. So did he answer?
No.
Oh, spin again. Take his fucking name off and spin again. Nick, I love you, but
can't wait to rub it in.
What?
I can't wait to rub it in.
Yeah, good. You do that. Good. Do that. You know, he had a chance to come in here and increase the number of bald guys we have at camp. John Price. Maybe John Price can make it.
John was interactive.
That'd be awesome. More confetti. More confetti. Is John still on?
Spring camp.
Not spinning more than one more time. After that, toss it in the can and just going to do our thing. Tick, 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 tick. Hey, you know what next week is? Episode 201. I haven't picked a subject yet for Wednesday's Whiteboard Wednesday, so I got to figure that out because I got to promote that tomorrow. So anyway, this has been cool. It's been very, very cool. Anything?
I don't see anything.
Tick, 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 tick. You know what? I'm just going to take it off the board. So, because we are way over time, and that's it. I'm just going to call it. So, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Let me just do the outro here, and we're going to call this a wrap. Get more of KUDEN Radio, subscribe through your favorite podcasting site, or join our clan of serious modern warriors at onlineninjaacademy.com.